Okay.
Good morning, April 22nd. This is a special meeting of the Griggs County Commission. At this time, will we please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to roll call. Edlund.
Here.
Zorn.
Here.
Tranby.
Here.
Averill.
Here.
And Wakefield's present. Have a look at the agenda. Any additions?
The only thing that changed since I sent it out to you was Wayne and Paul got added.
So we have Wayne from the road department and KLJ to be added to the agenda.
That's already added, so we just missed
Very good.
Motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Edlund, second by Tranby. All in favor signify by saying aye. Gabriel, excuse me. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Have a look at the April 8th meeting minutes to start with. We have the 8th, 10th, and 11th. Not much to mind, either one of them, but any corrections or omissions?
I make a motion to accept the minutes and dispense with the reading.
Motion by Edlund to accept the April 8th meeting minutes and dispense with the reading. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. April 8th minutes approved. Move on to the April 10th minutes. This is very short. This was a meeting that was opened and the principal didn't show up, so we closed it right away.
I make a motion to approve the April 10th meeting minutes and dispense with the reading.
Motion by Edlund to approve the April 10th meeting minutes and dispense with the reading. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Avery. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting minutes for April 10th approved. Now on the 11th, this was a meeting that was scheduled for the 10th, and it was then rescheduled for the 11th.
I make a motion to approve the April 11th minutes and dispense with the reading.
Motion by Edlund to approve the April 11th minutes and dispense with the meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes April 11th are approved. Move on and have a look at the bills. Sam, is there anything other than what we have here?
Nope.
Make a motion to approve the bills.
We have a motion by Edlund to approve the bills as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tranby. Any further discussion on the bills? Any further discussion? Barring no further discussion, we'll move on to a roll call vote. Aye to the affirmative, nay to the negative. Edlund?
Aye.
Zorn?
Aye.
Tranby?
Aye.
Averill?
Aye.
Wakefield votes aye. Bills approved. Well, now we're here for the same reason you're here. To discuss a event that happened last Saturday involving a saturation patrol that seemed to be targeted toward a specific organization here in Cooperstown. It's certainly sparked public outcry on both sides of this thing. And so we got to a point where I think we need to have an informational meeting, a place for people to air their arguments on both sides of what took place, and that's what this meeting is all about. This is not a court of law. We have no ability to compel anybody to say anything. We have no ability to compel anybody to tell the truth. This is strictly for public knowledge, and then to try to set some guidelines, hopefully, or give some guidance moving forward. There really is no format to how this should be run. This is a one-off. I've been here for 13 years and this has never happened. So I think the way we're going to do this is we're going to allow the sheriff to present the facts in this event. And at that point, the commission will be able to query the sheriff or the deputy, whoever is going to do this, and ask some questions. Then we'll open it up for the public comment portion of this. Everybody that wants to speak can speak. They'll be given 5 minutes. There's no stopwatch. It's just, we'll just keep it to a minimum. We'll try to keep, at that point, it will be statements, and the public, we don't really, can't get into back and forth between the public. So make a statement, and same thing, the commission can probably ask questions if that's what needs to be done to clarify some things. Again, keeping in mind, you're not compelled to answer anything we ask you. We're not a court here. Then it'll be on to the commission, the debate, the discussion about what happened. At that point, the public is still involved if they're asked a question concerning what they saw, heard, or however that relates to the question that was asked. Let's try to keep this to the point where we're asking questions and not disputing answers. Otherwise, it's going to get to a back and forth where everybody is he said, she said, and that's not right, this is right. And it should move forward fairly quickly. At this point, I guess, because I don't really have any rules for this thing, does the public have any questions on how we're going to run this? Okay. The commission, you guys have any questions?
No.
Comments?
Not yet.
Okay. So with that, we'll turn the floor over to the sheriff. I understand the deputy is going to speak for the sheriff's department?
Yes.
And with that, you're fine with the deputy setting policy for the sheriff's department? Because this is going to be a public record, and this is going to be questions on your policy.
Yeah, we can both answer questions.
Okay. Whichever one of you want to go first.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, Mike Beaver, I'm the sheriff here. Just briefly, I guess I don't really know where to start, so I'm just going to start with last week. What kind of happened leading up to the event. So Saturday night, I was not on duty for other reasons, personal reasons, family reasons. So Deputy Tyler Rickle was on duty. I did request the Highway Patrol to have one state trooper assigned to Griggs County Saturday evening or during the day Saturday. I didn't specify an exact time. And I was given a response that we would have one trooper assigned to Griggs County Saturday. And where the other two came from exactly, that's out of my control. And it's unfortunate that it happened the way it did, but at the same time, I can't control the state patrol, and I'm not mad that it happened either. There was no intentions for, a specific business or a group of people to be targeted from that patrol effort. And it's my understanding that those troopers were only in the area, directly around Cooperstown for approximately 2 hours. And then after that, they dispersed, went into other counties, went out into the county, rural parts of the county. So that's why I have Deputy Tyler Rispa here. He was working that evening. He talked to those troopers that were here. So I was hoping he'd be able to answer maybe a couple questions that I cannot answer. Like I said, it's unfortunate that what happened did happen, but it's out of my control, and even if I could go back and try and take it back, I can't. Nobody can. So I do know that there was approximately 25 traffic stops conducted in about an 8-hour period that night, and those were within the city limits and within the county. And out of those traffic stops, there was, I believe, 7 citations. I do know we have the clerk of court here as well, so she can correct me. But I believe 4 of those citations were issued in city limits, 3 were issued out in the county. So I guess with that, you know, kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't. I mean, we're the necessary evil around here. I mean, if we're patrolling too much, we're going to hear one side of it. If we're not patrolling at all, we're going to hear about it. So I guess my question to the commissioners is, if you guys feel, you know, that you would like us to be more reactive than proactive, then so be it, and we can accommodate that request. So, with that, if there's no questions,
Let me respond to that. Of course, if and when this becomes an elected position, the sheriff's position that you hold, the commissioners do not have any operational control over the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department, being an elected position, is responsible to the citizens and the citizens only. The amount of law enforcement that you provide is gauged by the public that you serve. Too much law enforcement, you don't get elected. Too little law enforcement, you don't get elected. If you look at the long-term sheriffs throughout the counties, the long-term sheriffs have been there for 20, 30 years. They fit into the system, their county system, very well. The rule of thumb is, if you make an arrest, that arrest should appeal to most of the population in the county. There shouldn't, because it is an elected position, and the people get to determine the intensity of the law enforcement in general, not on an individual basis, overall the intensity of the law enforcement. So the commission is not here to tell you what to do. The commission is here to provide the facts so that the citizens can tell you what to do.
yeah, just to make it clear, I value your opinions just as much as I value your guys' opinions. You know, and I guess just moving forward, the chances of something like that ever happen again are very rare. Like I said, there's probably a lot of variables that I don't even know.
I was looking at your email that you sent for your asking for assistance. I noticed you did not ask for assistance for the smoker.
No.
So they're not in here at all, okay.
Also, then, as long as we're looking at the emails, he did not ask for a specific number of officers. He never asked for one officer. The one officer came from the fact that the return from the highway patrol said they only had one officer available. So the number of officers that were sent here is still in question, and the only way we're going to get to the bottom of that is another meeting with the highway patrol and ask them what happened. That's the only way to give the citizens the ability to judge what happened here. Was it brought on by something that was done here locally in Griggs County, or was it the highway patrol that took command of this situation, or is it a combination of both? That's what the citizens desire. That's what they deserve, so that they can make a decision. We're not passing judgment on whether it was right or wrong. We're just trying to gather the facts to give the people the chance to decide that.
Absolutely, I guess. Barring any other questions, I guess in hindsight, my perspective from the evening was, you know, was it a bit much? Yes, I think we can all agree with that. But at the end of the night, there was no arrest made, there was no accidents, nobody got hurt. So what more is there to really be upset about? Unless there's any other questions, I'll let Deputy Rispa talk about things from his perspective. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Deputy Rispa, Griggs County Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since December 11th. Before that, I was juvenile corrections, went overseas, did a tour overseas for a year. I come from a small town, come from Bottom County. I don't know if any of you know where that is. So just by a show of hands, how many of you come from a small community? Just Raise your hands. How many of you love that small community and would do anything they could to protect that small community? Right? Backstory, both my parents actually were bartenders and bar managers in Bonneville County. So I actually really appreciate what the bars can provide, because those tips will actually provide a lot for those families. I mean, I know a lot of my school supplies and everything else in life came from tips from bars. So I do appreciate what the bars do for our community as far as providing those funds. And as far as the smoker, honestly, I did not know that was a charity event until after the fact. Nobody had told me that. So I actually really would be interested in talking to somebody from the Masonic Temple to donate, because I'd love to give back to small businesses. But today, what I'm here to tell you is the events that took place on April 13th. So, like every other Saturday, I patrol. Usually I go on about 1,500, and I'm on until 02 or 03, depending on the night, depending on what happens. That night, specifically, I was assigned to the whole county, but there was a huge number of individuals in just Cooperstown. And so what law enforcement does is you focus on the higher rate of individuals, whether it's what they're doing, where they're at. So I obviously made a statement because it's been a week and I've handled a lot of calls since then. And so it's just practice for law enforcement to write a statement of the events that happened that night. So I'm going to read you a statement. Please, just out of respect to the commissioners and the commissioner meetings, so we can get this rolling so everybody doesn't spend the whole day here. If you have any questions, like you said, Chairman will be able to address those. So, good morning, Mr. Chairman, Griggs County Commissioners, and Griggs County residents. For those of you who don't know me, like I said, Deputy Ursula, Griggs County Sheriff's Office, badge number 4332. Today I'll be, like I said, explaining the events that took place on April 13th. So I, along with the North Dakota Highway Patrol, conducted a series of traffic stops within Cooperstown and the city of Griggs County. Earlier that week, like Sheriff Beaver had said, we requested help from the North Dakota Highway Patrol, which is not out of practice. There's a lot of counties that do that, especially when you're the only law enforcement officer. We all know law enforcement officer safety is a huge concern. So it's nice to have somebody that's not 45 minutes away during a busy night. So this is not out of the ordinary, like I said. And like many of us know, the North Dakota Highway Patrol decided to send 3 officers. And don't get me wrong, when there were 3 officers in the county, and myself actually had questions. I've never seen 3 HPs in a small county ever in my life, growing up in Bonneville or wherever. So I started asking around. Well, the one Highway Patrol officer was actually assigned to Foster County because Glenfield was having a problem that night. And so he came over, said hi, and he ended up seeing me as I was conducting a traffic stop on Highway 200. Asked him what he was up to. He said he was in the area because Glenfield was having a problem. And I continued my business. And I see another trooper who was the one that was assigned out of Fargo for Griggs County for that night. And then the 3rd trooper was actually a sergeant with the North Dakota Highway Patrol out of Fargo, who was here just conducting a routine check on his officers with the North Dakota Highway Patrol, which is not out of the ordinary because, sergeants are going to check on their guys and make sure they're doing okay. So what I'm going to tell you is, unfortunately, we as a sheriff's office do not have control over the North Dakota Highway Patrol. So I can't just look at the Highway Patrol and tell them, hey, don't worry guys, I got it, have a good night, see you guys later. They're state Highway Patrol. If they're going to conduct traffic stops in rural North Dakota like I've seen them do before, they're going to conduct traffic stops. I don't have any say. And so hopefully we can get some answers from them, like Chairman Wakefield said. And so that night, I'm just going to share the events. Griggs County Sheriff's Office conducted approximately 12 traffic stops that night. Of those 12 traffic stops, one I conducted at approximately 16:15. I stopped the vehicle doing 80 miles per hour in a 65 mile an hour zone, approximately mile marker 328 westbound, 200. That individual was cited in accordance with North Dakota Century Code 39-09-02, which is the speeding century code. They were issued a citation, they went on their way. Another vehicle I stopped was at approximately 18:20. I stopped a vehicle in the 200 block of 9th Street Southwest for improper display registration, which was North Dakota Century Code 39-04-11. That individual was given a warning because The DOT, I don't know if any of you have seen the new DOT labels on the back, but on the paper it actually says, please place in rear driver's side window. And so I stopped them because I didn't see a license plate or any registration. So they're giving a warning and just let them know. Also stopped the vehicle at approximately 2000, 1300 block Lanham Avenue. Give them a citation for expired registration, 39-04.14-1. They were given a citation because their registration was 7 months expired on their vehicle. They were also given a warning by me because they didn't have their license on them, and they didn't have the liability of insurance. They didn't have proof of insurance. So they were given a warning for that. So I conducted a series of traffic stops. And one traffic stop that I know that many have heard about was somebody had said they got stopped for a dirty license plate. Believe me, I come from a small, rural, farm town community. Many of you, I'm sure, if we walked outside right now, you would have dust on your license plates because we have to travel gravel roads to get to and from work and to and from home. That individual was not stopped for their gravel on their license plate, but in matter of fact, they were stopped for not having any license plate lights on their license plate, which is in accordance with North Dakota Century Code violation 39-21. And when I approached the vehicle, I did remind them, hey, just letting you know your license plate is covered. We might not worry about that here, but if you do decide, because he told me he was going to college at NDSU, if you go back to Fargo, that's probably something Fargo PD is going to stop you for. So I let them know that. So through a series of questions, as I'm talking to all these individuals like we're trained to do, I ask them, where are you going? Where are you coming from? How's your night going? And many of them answered, I'm coming home from the store. One individual was going home from Dollar General. One individual was going home from work. Out of all 12 of these individuals that I stopped with the Griggs County Sheriff's Office, were not in any association with a smoker. And in fact, I actually had stopped at the smoker event earlier that evening at about 17:30, introduced myself to a gentleman that was with the Masonic Temple, and told him, hey, I'm from a small town, I get it. It was warm that night, it was 70 degrees. It was going to be warm in that building with all those bodies in there. I even told him, if you're individuals that want to come outside, have a drink on the sidewalk, that's not going to bother me. I'm not going to stop every individual on the sidewalk and give them an open container citation. Because we're all here to do something for the community and raise money for the community. So now, at one time that night after I left the Masonic Temple, that I stopped back or write a citation. And I even noticed individuals throughout the night walking from the Masonic Temple to an establishment with open containers. Is that technically a stop that I could make and written 5, 7 open container violations? Oh, 100%. But is that what we're here to do in a small community, is burn a great event and tear it down and hope it never comes back? No. You use officer discretion like you do any other day on the job. You determine whether is that individual committing a real crime or are they just trying to have a fun on a Saturday night and they're not hurting anybody. So that's what I did. I didn't write a citation. I let everybody enjoy their night. And like Sheriff Beaver said, there were 0 accidents, there were 0 arrests, and everybody made it home safely that night. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen every night, right? How many people here have been affected by drunk driving? Whether they know somebody, or they talk to somebody, or you work EMS, or you work fire, you know somebody. And if you don't, you're lucky. And so that's our goal. And it wasn't a saturation event. I know it sounds like a saturation event, but actually North Dakota Highway Patrol conducts saturation events. And those are actual DUI checkpoints. And those will be put out by Highway Patrol and by local law enforcement before they're ever conducted. That's per Century Code. We have to do that. And like I said, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to answer from North Dakota Highway Patrol. So if you still have questions, I don't blame you. I'm from a small town, I'd have questions too. And so over the last week, as a law enforcement officer, I had many emotions over the events that happened. And a lot of you individuals and other individuals that made it also had many emotions being from a small town. You don't want to see your small town ruined by law enforcement or what you think is ruined. But what I can tell you is, not at one point ever in our career do we hope to entrap, harass, or government overreach on anybody? That's not our goal. Our goal is to serve and protect the United States and the state of North Dakota and Griggs County. Because when you're a law enforcement officer, unfortunately, the moment you get off work, you're not a law enforcement officer anymore. That's not how it works. Many of us have worked on call in certain situations, or maybe we're at a job where we're shorthanded and you have to work. There's been many times I get home from a long night with my wife, and I get home and the phone rings, and you have to answer it, because that's what you do. So our job is to serve and protect the citizens of Griggs County to the best of our ability. Whether that's a traffic stop, or whether that's going to an EMS call, or whether that's just being there for somebody after they just lost a loved one. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to harass or entrap or overreach on anybody. And believe me, if you feel that that's happening, please just call the sheriff's office, because we want to investigate those things. We want those things to be investigated. And I know that a lot of individuals with new law enforcement, especially not being from here, you're going to have questions. Believe me. Growing up in Botno, I remember when we used to get a cop, and I would just think the worst of that cop. Because he was stopping vehicles. That's not what we do in small towns. We don't stop vehicles for no license plate light. But how are we supposed to protect the community if we don't do that? A huge problem that we can all probably agree on in Griggs County is the drug problem. There is a drug problem in Griggs County. And I can tell you right now that the sheriff and I are personally working on that as an agency to fix that problem. But statistically in North Dakota, drug interdiction comes from traffic stops. Highway 200, actually I found that out from North Dakota Highway Patrol, Highway 200 is a huge hub for individuals doing illegal things. And so these traffic stops were merely just enforcing Century Code, which is what we're here to do. And so, like I said, if you have questions, I would love, after the meeting, for you to personally ask me questions. I would sit here for hours and answer any questions. But unfortunately, like I said, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to find the facts. So like I said, those 12 traffic stops were all Title 39 North Dakota Century Code violations. And I only wrote 2 citations. I could have written 7, but I didn't, because that's not what you do in a small town. And I look forward to living in this small town for the rest of my life. My wife's the social worker at the hospital now. We're starting to build roads. We're starting to get involved. And honestly, if any of you have any other questions or would love to, we do a ride-along program. All you gotta do is fill out a little piece of paper. If you want to go on a ride-along to see what it's more like, instead of hearing a third party, we'd love to do it, whether it's our commissioners or our residents. But that's all I have to say, and like I said, I just hope that we can move on from this. It was a learning curve for us. You're learning in law enforcement every day. Could we have instructed the individuals that, hey, there's 3 troopers out, like, we didn't request that. But that's why we're having this event today. That's why we're having this meeting, is to be able to share those facts. So I'm going to give it back to the chairman, Mr. Wakefield. If anybody has any questions after the meeting, I'll be around. I'd love to answer questions. And if I don't know the answer, I will get you the answer.
Thank you. Mr. Sheriff, you or anything from you?
Nothing further.
Question I have is, one of the things you said there is you said that you do not understand or know what the smoker was. That's disturbing to me, for the fact that what the smoker does, that it's a part of the Masons, and the Masons is a part of the Shriners. Shriners is one of the biggest giving hospitals there is. They got over 9 hospitals in 9 different cities, from Chicago to Texas to Arizona. They have burn victim hospitals. They have a cleft palate hospital. They have one hospital that just does surgery on brain injuries and undeveloped brains. So, I mean, you talked about being from a small town, and I think there was a pretty lack of looking into knowing what you were truly affecting at the surface to you. It was, you sat up there and gave us all of your century codes of why you pulled us over, but you didn't look at the real reason of what you were affecting. That just goes for the part of that night. Beaver said that he would do it over again, kind of at the end of the statement. He said there was nothing we could do about it. That's disturbing too, that you looked at the outcome and the people here, and you don't think that you did something wrong and that you would do it again. That's disturbing. Other than the night of the event, my concern is the amount of people that have called me and explained to me, and even the people that have been pulled over for doing 56, 57 miles an hour, leaving Southern Bar. I don't foresee that is necessary. I think that is harassment, looking for a bigger fish to fry, if you want to call it. I don't agree with the fact that I have personally come home with my semi at night and looked down Highway 200 past the 3 Mile corner, and I don't know which one of you it is, but I've seen your car sit there. I don't believe, yes, I do understand Highway 200 is probably a hub of trafficking that goes through for other events but we're Griggs County. We don't need to be spending our time and effort and money on traffic stops on the 3 Mile corner. We're short a deputy anyway. It's aggravating to me that 42 cents of every dollar we spend on gas and fuel goes to the federal government for Highway 200, for state patrol. We pay heavy road tax, we use tax. All that money goes to the federal government, goes to the highway patrol. We need to be watching our citizens. If you want to do something, go and patrol gravel roads. We got snowbirders that are gone. Make a presence of pulling in their yard, looking for squatters, fuel stole, battery stole, things like that. We're not worried about somebody rolling a stop sign on Highway 200 to 3 Mile corner. I sit on the church board. About a month ago, sat in the meeting, and the other members of the church didn't realize that I'm watching. I don't know which one of you it was, but the meeting is 45 minutes to an hour long, and it must have been 4 times through the alley of the fishbowl, out on the highway, back down Main. I could see you swing back out, back through the alley again. What is that? You know, just watching who's at the bar. I heard the night of the smoker that the same thing was happening, back and forth through the alleys. Sitting at the Bavera Bank, I've heard of you guys sitting there, waiting for people to come on the back of the bar. I don't know. We definitely do not need overreach of power. This is a small community that, I don't know if you've ever sat on, you talked about Botman. I'm originally from Botman. Both sides of my family are from there. So that's a small town that is struggling to make it to. We are. We're trying to have derbies, street dances, smokers, mud runs, and 90% of everything that is done in these small communities is done by donation of time. They donate all their time. The Fair Board, the relentless hours of down there mowing and painting and setting up bleachers and setting up fencing, donated time. All it takes is just an overreach of power, and pretty soon nobody's going to come and support those events, and all that is done in vain. Because, for what reason? Even if you didn't get traffic tickets, violations, you pull them over. You ruined the night. I'm really concerned to where this is in it, where it's gonna end. To where, for the community. You take the bars in town that are putting money together to buy a band for a street dance. Nobody shows up. How do they pay for that band? People walking through from attendance and hopefully some liquor sales. If nobody shows up, you don't have, that money is wasted, and it'll be the last one. I mean, am I promoting that we don't do anything, that we just let this town run wild? Absolutely not. But one other thing on a personal note that bothers me is that I can sit in a church board meeting and watch the sheriff's vehicle make hot laps through the alley. I own a lot on the corner of town right by the county shop. I've owned it since 2007. I've had multiple pieces of equipment sit there over the years. Knock on wood, I've never had a thing stolen. I've never had diesel, gas, chains, binders, anything. Went down there to bring my motorhome up. It was siphoned so it was low on gas we couldn't get it to run. I got 2 dump trucks sitting there. Both of them, they didn't even bother to put the fuel caps back on. Siphoned all the gas out of both trucks. Trucks were pretty easy targets, big saddle tanks on, pretty easy to get the fuel out of. But whoever took the time to do it out of a motorhome with a trapdoor had to stick a small hose down there, and they siphoned about 75 gallons of gas out of it through a small hose. It took some time. You know, that sat right at the end of my line where streetlights and stuff are, something that could have been seen pretty easy. I'm not gonna say you're gonna find every gas thief, but I think there's things that we could definitely be looking more. Drugs, theft, property, other than ruining events of the smoker that go to, Shriners, kids. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna ask, like I reiterated before, the 12 individuals I had contact with that night were not in association with the smoker.
But it affects the smoker.
But how does my traffic stop on an individual affect other individuals if they're abiding by the law? You know, it's not illegal to be intoxicated and drive. It's illegal to be intoxicated over a certain amount and drive.
Right.
An individual can have a certain amount of alcohol and still operate a vehicle just fine. I have an example of that Saturday night. I stopped a vehicle. I smelled alcohol. The highway patrol and I conducted SFSTs, but that individual was not over a certain limit. So I let him drive home because he was not over a certain limit. And you told me that I could call an individual or talk to people from the Masons about the event. You're right. I could have done that. I should have done that. But also, there were 2 individuals that called us on Saturday about what was going on in town. Do you think maybe just asking, we all could have made phone calls to the sheriff's office and got the facts?
Right, exactly. But in the same token, how many years do you think the smoker's gone on in this town?
About 30
I
years.
know there's gentlemen here that have been on that smoker for 20 years and can tell you that there's never been a DUI in 20 years after the event of the smoker.
I mean, can I interrupt you for a second, Rod? I've been to the smoker for the last 25 years or so when it started. And most people with a smoker, they know they have 2 buses that take people home if they get intoxicated. Most people have a ride home or they walk home. They know the patrol is out there. So they already assess to that situation that they already know what's going to happen. So they're pretty careful on that one. So back to my other point on that. So anyway.
And like I said, I even stopped at the smoker. And when I talked to him, I volunteered, hey, if you don't have anybody that has a ride and you don't feel they should walk, give us a call. We're not just there to give people DUIs. I would much rather give somebody a ride from an establishment to watch them walk into their house, make sure that they're safe, than get a call, because I worked EMS for 2 years, and you get a call of a drunk individual or an intoxicated individual on the doorsteps on a winter night. Yeah, that night was beautiful, but we're there to serve the community. We're not just there to arrest people. I would love to give individuals a ride. I would much rather give an individual a ride home from an event than do a DUI investigation or a DUI arrest. That's not what we live for. You're right, don't get me wrong. DUI team, highway patrol, or bigger cities, that might be what they live for. But what I live for is for everybody in the community to be safe and have fun and have a good night. Don't get me wrong, I even made the comment to the Masons that if I wasn't on duty, you would have found me in there eating prime rib having a beer. But unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity.
I have a
Another
question for you.
question,
You said you pulled somebody over for a taillight license light. How many times have you done that in your time as deputy?
I've done it numerous times. I actually did it twice on that Saturday night.
Twice on that Saturday night. How about before that?
I've done it, it's numerous practice.
Really?
Yep.
Because that seems like a pretty... Now, if you told me every day you go out patrolling and every night, oh, because I know probably half my vehicles don't have a tail light or a license plate light. They're old, they're junky. But it seems awful convenient that that night we're pulling people over for tail light or license plate lights. That's what I'm getting at. Why you pulled them people over for that, but you wanted to see if they were drinking.
No, I stopped them before because
That's not what people want.
they committed a Title 39 traffic violation.
I understand it's a violation. I do, but you gotta understand that people around here don't want to be policed like that. I understand swerving across lines, speeding through town, spinning your tires, doing things that are just not even egregious, but they're against the law. But you can't just pull people, oh, you didn't use your blinker on a night of a smoker or a golf tournament or, like you said, the fair. Nobody wants that. That's not what we need. We need cops. We're glad you're here, but good Lord, you got to be able to differentiate stuff like that. I mean, that to me is just disgusting. And you said 24, 25 stops. I know they're not all you, and only 3 violations. Well, 6 violations? What about the other 20 stops? Why were they even pulled over if they weren't given violations? I understand warnings, but it obviously wasn't a bad enough violation to get a ticket, so was it really bad enough to get pulled over on the night of the smoker?
Well, that's why we have officer discretion. I could have given a citation to
I
every single
understand you can do
individual.
whatever you want, and that's the problem. Nobody here wants you to do what you want. You should do what people want you to do. Not pull over for drunk driving, but have a reason, not just nothing. That's the whole problem. And you're just making excuses as you talk.
The other thing that question I have on is that you said that the state patrol, and I know this is a question you can't answer, but it's one that I feel that the citizens and us need to have answered, is that the one highway patrolman was the supervisor that came out of Fargo as well. Yeah, that you kind of explained that he was just here to oversight to see his other highway patrolmen, just to make, to see, obviously, if they were doing what they were supposed to be. But I have a problem with that, because if that was the case, I mean, I'd have to believe that there's a lot more to this email than that we're reading, because they were obviously here for a reason. And all 3, when we went over Facebook, when all 3 patrolmen within the Coachman to Millers have got people pulled over at the same time. That doesn't seem to me like somebody that's here to look to see how his patrolmen are performing. It seems like he is here part of the task. But that's something I know you can't answer, but I think it's something that we all believe that, I think we believe that we should have answered. So I guess I'm not within agreement of why they were here. And I think there's just a lot more. You read this email from Sheriff Beaver, there's a lot of holes in it, I guess, and I think we need to have that answered.
So, like I said, we can enforce Title 39, or we can enforce the whole Century Code. And like Sheriff Beaver said, and I think anybody in the room probably can contest, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And so what I did was I did bring some statistics just to share with you, because you're right, you don't get to hear everything. Not everybody gets to hear everything. So I brought statistics. And what it is just what, like I said, it's just Sheriff Beaver and I in the county, and so it's just the 2 of us.
Does it show anything with the Shriners or 2? You see that side of it?
So let's leave that, let's move this along. Yeah. We've got a bunch of people who want to talk here, and
Okay.
you'll have another opportunity. I have one comment to leave you with. that have taken so far out of where we've been talking. One, it wasn't the sheriff's department's fault, it was the highway patrol.
Nobody said anybody was at fault. I never once said it was the highway patrol's fault.
It wasn't the sheriff's department's mission then to have these highway patrolmen here, they showed up on their own. Secondly, there's one that really concerns me a little bit, is you said you didn't realize that this was a charity event. Is that- Yeah, so I assume that you don't provide or would not promote selective enforcement.
It's not selective enforcement.
Let me finish. You said you didn't realize that as a charity event, as if I would have realized it, I wouldn't have done what I've done. What event then would be able to be targeted? That's what you said there. I didn't realize it was a charity event, like, oh, man, I screwed up. If they would have told me it was a charity event, none of this would have happened. The other side of that is, if it isn't a charity event, then it's fair game. That is selective enforcement.
No,
And-
what I think that is you trying to use your words to try and manipulate what we did Saturday
I think
night.
those are your words.
Because it doesn't matter what the event is. If you're breaking the law, you're going to get stopped. This last Saturday was prom. I conducted several patrols this last Saturday. I didn't see a traffic violation.
So the other thing that we have here is, I was hoping it wasn't going to come to this. I was hoping the sheriff's department was going to say, we were in charge of this, we take full responsibility, we'll do something to fix it. That's not what's happening. So now we have to get into these emails, and there is a redacted, there is in these emails that says the word redacted, and there's information missing from these emails.
Because it's ongoing investigations.
What's redacted, like I informed Jamie Tennyson, was I just gave a little tidbit into some of the different drug problems we have in the county, just so the highway patrol was aware of that.
So the way to redact information, of course, is to print out all the information, put a black line through the information that would give specifics, the person involved, the crime that was being, any information that would allow the public to identify the people involved. You just wrote the word redacted. So we have no idea how much is redacted. We have no idea of the content that was redacted. It could be, somebody could very well say that the redacted information here had to do with the initial contact to the highway patrol asking for deputies. And what did you ask for? Well, it's redacted. We don't know. And so that's a very simple fix. I would suggest that the original email be given to the state's attorney. The state's attorney have a look at it and verify whether or not the redacted material actually needs to be redacted. That will put this to rest. The fact that the email was labeled Assistance Griggs County, I find it hard to believe that then there was two subjects involved with this. Why did we have material that was deemed not able to be seen by the public? Why was that sent in a general email to the highway patrol? This wasn't addressed, the first email wasn't addressed to anybody, it was good afternoon. In fact, when the return from your email, it wasn't even an officer that returned the email, it was an administrative assistant. So the question remains then, if we have a material that, let's just call it classified, let's call it sensitive, whatever it might be, why was that included in a request to the highway patrol for assistance on Saturday night? Why wasn't that a second email request? And certainly, why wasn't it sent to somebody in general? Why was it sent to just a general mailbox? It goes on from there. So now we have sensitive material supposedly in that first email we sent. The administrative assistant obviously saw that sensitive material, but she turned around and sent it to 5 other email accounts, the different officers within the state highway patrol. And so now we have that email being sent, that sensitive email being sent because it's combined with another email supposedly. Now we have that sensitive email to 5 different officers. When those officers reply back to you about staffing this event, no mention is made of that classified email. They don't even say, well, yeah, we'll get your officer. In fact, he said, we'll have you one officer. And that's it. So why did they just choose to reply to the secondary request, is what I would call it. If there's classified email on there that's of secure nature, and you send it to the chief of the Highway Patrol, Michael, I don't have his name here, and he replies back to you, why didn't he make mention of that classified email that he sent you? And again, why would the Highway Patrol distribute classified emails out into the public? I maintain that the redaction has nothing to do with a classified email. I think it has to do with the request that was made. And we'll find that out real easily. The email didn't go away. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand corrected. Show the state's attorney or show somebody, a new third party, what the classification was, and we'll resolve this. But I've had numerous people ask me about this since this became public knowledge as a meeting. And that's one of the questions. The other question is, I find it really strange that now no one wants to take, we won't say blame, no one wants to take credit for the 3 officers being there. You said you requested 1, that's not correct. In your email, you didn't request any, you just requested, I can read it to you if you want. You requested, I'm the sheriff in Griggs County. I have had the pleasure of meeting a few troopers assigned to Griggs County over the last few months. I am emailing you to request assistance with patrolling Griggs County Saturday night, April 13th. That's the whole request. That's what was supposedly. After that, it's redacted. That was passed on to the other officers. It seems to me that in order to get 3 officers here, there needs to be more information that took place back and forth between your department and the Highway Patrol. They just didn't say, we're sending them all. So then the reply from the officer in charge after he'd been sent this email was, I have 1 trooper. We assigned to work in Griggs County on Saturday evening. Are you able to provide contact information for him or any deputies that may be working the case in case we need an intoxicator? Have any questions about court, etc.? If you could reply all, the sergeants working and trooper blank will receive the information as well. So that email with the classified supposedly information was sent to 5 different people. You replied, thank you, deputy, reacted, we'll be working patrol, and I will be available as well. So was that not correct? That you will be available?
I was available by phone call that evening.
Okay, so you didn't know anything about it until Monday morning, and you certainly must not have been on board with it, but Monday afternoon you wrote an email to the Highway Patrolman again. I just wanted to briefly reach out today and personally thank the 3 troopers and the North Dakota Highway Patrol in general for all the help Saturday night. It was greatly appreciated. I am beyond thankful for the presence that was made that evening. Now, this is just limited because I think, again, we don't have the redactions. We will get them. They're all over. You've already indicated now that the Highway Patrol was in the main drive behind this, so they'll be at the meeting next week. But it's pretty hard to, with the limited information I have here, your side presented, and the facts say something else. You were very happy, and you were well aware that there was 3 officers, and that was Monday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Something changed between
10 o'clock Saturday night. That's when Deputy Rispa called me just to check in, like he normally does every shift, and that's when I learned that there was 3 troopers in the county.
Okay. So let's move on to the public comment part of it. We're going to be coming back to this in this whole discussion again in the general part of this discussion. So this is just very informal. You don't need to even state your name. If you wish to, you can state your name and you can address the organization of the topic that you represent. You will not be questioned by anybody unless you choose to be questioned. And certainly, any questions asked will be for the purpose of information, not to dispute what you're saying. We're not in business here to do that. This is a public forum. So with that, I don't think it's necessary for you to stand up or come to the front. If you want to, you're welcome. We'll move on to that. Who wants to start off? And I think Wiener would probably be the one to start this off. This was...
Well, I'm the master of the lodge, and Dale's sort of used to me. But anyway, he's been there for all 20-some smokers. And it's not been a DUI, an accident, or whatever. It just was total targeting. You know, it just isn't since Saturday the 13th. It's been going on since these two have been hired. You can ask any business owner. It's just not Cooperstown. Binford, whoever's in Griggs County.
East side of the river.
You know, it's got to end. Because Griggs County's going to go broke. Out of all our tickets we sell, 93 no-shows. Some of them I asked, well, how come you didn't come? Well, I didn't want to get picked up going to Cooper. They just turned around and went home again. That costs us money too. We got extra food, everything else, because we rely on the 400 tickets we sell. But it's not all about the Masons, you know. We just don't take anybody in that building. There isn't another building in the state of North Dakota that's as nice as this one. And we get the people from all over the state. We have buses that come in, Grand Forks. We got people from Langdon that fill up the motel rooms, buy gas, do whatever. But I think they put a big old flag right on Cooperstown. The social media is huge. All the videos, 3 cops got them stopped and another one sitting at Miller's waiting for the next car to come through. But I think it's targeting. But, and harassment, because they were going through the alleys. And they're checking out who's there. Not everybody that goes in the bar is drinking. They have gaming in there, and I'm pretty sure the gaming is getting hurt. Ask anybody from the Cooperstown Municipal. The money's down.
And lots of entities rely on those funds from the gaming.
Oh, yeah.
They give the money back to the community.
Absolutely.
It's
Huge. Hey, and it's just not Cooperstown people patronizing the businesses. They're from out of town. They come to Cooper, go golfing. I tell you, if these two are still around, I don't know that we'll have a Shriners golf tournament in Cooperstown. It's probably one of the biggest fundraisers they have, or moneymaker they have. And I'm pretty sure there's quite a few other ones that are pulling out because they don't want to take the hassle of these guys picking on them. And I can tell you, because I run that too, but everybody has a driver when they go home. Either they come and get them or whatever. I think everybody's, you know, a little more responsible because they know what's out there. And I think Tyler would like to say something.
Absolutely.
a lot of things I'd like to say, but I don't, as far as it goes from targeting, I don't know if it was really targeting as much as it was just an opportunity to go and make all these traffic stops too.
I stood out in the front of there, and I'm pretty sure this deputy wore a set of tires off going back and forth. Constantly. But I looked at what police presence is. Because I seen police presence once. Just the other day, the cop drove into town, went around the block, out again. To me, that's presence. Not sitting here filling Main Street with car lights. It's all over the social media, it's terrible. And it just, you know, Cooper days, you're up in the street having a beer, now he ain't gonna let you go across the street? Nah. This is North Dakota. Because I was not the guy that had to go out and talk to him. The other guy is in here right now, because he's busy. But he said, everybody could be out here, nice out drinking, but you go across that street, and I'll pick you up. So what does that hurt? The coachman. Cut across the street, go to the O. You know, not everybody will stay there. They wander around constantly. But as soon as their presence came, half the crowd gone. We don't, you know, we have to make the money to keep the building open. Otherwise Griggs County would get a building back on taxes. Simple as that.
We have one of the very few Mason buildings still around.
Yep.
So the question then is, these small communities develop norms, or what's normal behavior for the citizens, what's normal behavior, and the intensity of the law enforcement. In the 20 years that you've been doing this, is this normal behavior for law enforcement?
No, never seen it ever before. I've only been there 15, but this guy here has been the original.
I'm Dale Luxer. I live in Grand Forks now. Been a Shriner for Mason for 35 years. We started coming here 30 years ago. This past year was our 30th golf tournament here. We bring in 120 people. We got 100 golfers. With the help, 120 people come in here. I wasn't at the Smoker on Saturday night. I've been at every other one of them, but I wasn't there. But the other 20 years, I don't know if I've hardly even seen a police vehicle, state patrol vehicle in the area. But the perception of this, and what else we have heard of the cops sitting across from the bar targeting, I don't know if I want to bring 100 guys in to golf here. Are you going to drive by the golf course and take down license plates? Everyone pulling a golf cart's going to get stopped. Maybe there's a safety chain not right on the vehicle. You're going to see that. You're going to bust them when they go out of town. I was on the golf court here for, I don't know, 3-4 years, whatever. I know what struggles they go through. They got a tournament. We're probably one of the top tournaments here now. But we've had teams call and say, hey, we hear what's going on in Cooperstown. We hear what the cops are doing. I don't think we want to come. We're going to have a meeting coming up here where we're going to probably decide the fate of that tournament here. And I'd sure the hell hate to leave after 30 years. I know most of the people, I know the businesses, I know what's going on. But if this is the way the copping is here, and if you're going to bring 3 state patrols into town that night, they were requested. Somebody asked for them. If you got one deputy, big deal. You were here. You could have been available at any time. That just hurt the whole operation. I was potentate at Kevin Temple. I know the Shriners, We depend on that. We depend on the money from that tournament. The Masons depend on that money. We give scholarships. We give scholarships to Dakota Prairie, Cooperstown, Finley, Hope, to help. I mean, it might not be big money, but it helps the kids. We don't raise that money. I mean, is that smoker next year going to be nothing because of this? If you guys don't look forward and see what's going to be coming in the future by your actions now, in the whole town, I mean, I'm a small town guy too. I didn't come from Bottineau County. I mean, I come from Benson County and moved into Nelson County. I had a bar in Lunetta. Never. Even in our big turkey barbecues, one deputy would come to town. 3,000 people there. One deputy would come to town. We didn't have 5 state patrol or whatever else. It just, if we have one guy get busted leaving that golf tournament at .08 or whatever, 30 years we haven't had nothing. 25 years with the smoker, nothing. But we're scared. And we're really scared right now to bring these people down. Thank you for your time.
Sir. Mr. Burdow.
Well, whatever the thing is, we had a bus that came in from Grand Forks. A gal on the bus told me when it broke down at the edge of town, in the middle of the highway, the police went past them 7 times, never stopped to ask, is there something wrong, can we help you? They ended up getting out of the bus, pushed the bus off the road. The police went past them as they were doing that. They didn't stop behind them and put the lights on to help protect them. So that's part of protect and serve, but they didn't do that. The second thing is, they didn't know what was going on because I offered to sell them tickets. And I said, this is for the Masonic Lodge. We use it as our fundraiser to help support our different entities that we do. And yes, and as far as the shrine, we are very important into that there. I am a Shriner. I was on the hospital board of directors for basically 12 years. And the Masons give to the shrine as well. And so it's all interconnected and it deals with a lot of kids. And the take and have this go like it did isn't any good. I mean, I've even lived in, we had big areas like this up in Spokane, Washington. They never had as much police presence as you guys showed on that Saturday, even in bigger operations. So that they can have that much here and to even ask for assistance, was it really needed? Do you ask for that every weekend that one of you aren't working? I mean, there's just no need.
Gonna have to call out the National Guard when Binford has their rodeo then, if they need 3 highway patrolmen to take care of a bunch of Shriners and Masons.
That's the reason I'm here, because I am the president of the PBR in Binford, and we have been getting calls. We have, our sponsors always, sponsor us, and we're a nonprofit organization, but our general mission tickets, I go around trying to promote it, and right now they say, well, we can't come there, that's Griggs County. So our general mission tickets, we put up buildings and we still try and help 4-H kids and try and help them, but what happened here in Cooperstown that night is affecting everybody in Griggs County. Not only our event, but future events, like you said, the golf course. Even I come in town and I'll go into a pub and I go in there just to visit and have 1 or 2 drinks, and head home, but you don't care. You know? So it's just something that, you know, we've been working at this boat ride for 25 years, and we've gotten it to the point we're at 180 people in Binford, and we go from 180 to close to 3,000 in one evening. And yes, we've had the cops there every year. You know, we always get assigned two from Griggs County, and there's a highway patrol, and people know that. But what happened here in Cooperstown, our general mission, our people that come, don't really want to because of what they had seen. And that's the only reason I came today, is to express our opinion up there, and stuff like this is gonna happen, that's gonna hurt the whole county in the future. And I do realize we've had police there all the time, and yes, there is call for them. And there is the ones that do the stupid things, you know. But they, over the years, they have watched that and they have taken control of that, you know. But I guess thank you for my time, and I just want to express our concerns. They sent me here to express it. Thanks, you.
I'd like to say one thing. This whole time that these people have been talking, I've been watching you, and you have shrugged everyone off. You have not cared. You have looked at your watch. You have shrugged them off. That is absolutely disrespectful to this whole room. As an employer, if one of my guys would have done that in something this serious, you'd be gone. You'd be so gone. I'm not even from here. I'm from the east side of the river, and I am shaking how pissed I am. Seriously. You're not even taking anyone serious here. That's what pisses me off. And that is what pisses employers off, period. See, the cool thing about government is there's always someone above you. Do you know what the North Dakota Sheriffs and Deputies Association is? Do you know those people on there? Jack Kaiser from Stutzman? Steve Hunt from Trail? Do you think if we were to bring this up to them, they'd say, nope. And legally, yeah, you were operating under the confines of the law. Absolutely. But morally, that is wrong. And that is what rural America is built on, is morals. Morals, integrity, and trust. And respect. Period. And just the fact that you shut all of us off, none of us want you here, period. And I guarantee that.
Can I just say something, sir?
Yes.
Was I shrugging you off, or was I
You were shrugging.
shaking my head in acknowledgement, just like everybody else has been this whole time someone's talking?
You're.
Because believe me,
I feel like I got to do an example because I don't think there's a word for it. But every time somebody came, it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's shrugging someone off. You are not looking at them. You are not listening to them. That is the problem. That is the problem with a lot of things in the world. You are not listening to what we are saying. If somebody was drunk and driving around, get them. Don't care. But the fact that you, and I honestly don't know if you were targeting it. I think it was more opportunity. I think that was a sheer opportunity to show your strength. And that really bothers me. Big time. Especially when there are bigger issues in the county that need to be solved. Would you agree to that?
Oh, I can 100% agree.
Okay.
We're working on it, I promise you.
Okay. And we're glad for that. But I think the problem with the community is you put your focus on something different, a little bit more than what it should have been. That makes sense?
I totally understand, sir.
Okay.
Like I said, if it at all seemed disrespectful, I promise you I wasn't being disrespectful. You can ask the people that I've met in the community. I'm not a disrespectful person. I refer to everybody as sir, ma'am. Like, that's who I am. That's where I came from. So it was me acknowledging what they said, and okay, I can understand. Like, Now I have a better outlook on, hey, this is how it is here. I understand that. I came from a different area. This is my first civilian law enforcement job. And like I said, I'm here doing what the Century Code and what our operating procedures of the Sheriff's Office allows me to do. And that's where I'm at. And that's why I try to build that rapport every time I stop an individual. Hey, how's it going? Devin Durst, but I've even told people, hey, my wife's a social worker at the hospital. Like, hey, nice to meet you.
Paul. Most of you know me, I'm Paul Painter, Mayor of Cooperstown. We've been working with the county a little bit, trying to, since we haven't had police before, we've had some comments about, but working with a little bit. Nothing was said or done anything, but we did meet with commissioners about a week ago, I think it was. After that, I did have some few phone calls about what are we doing? We don't need to be spending that money, paying some other lawyer to take care of our business, stuff like that too. So like I said, we've been working with that a little bit for the residents too, but the part is I've had calls from the bar owners and all that, and that's my job too as mayor, is to listen to the people of the community here about if I couldn't do something about that because their business has been down. I usually work most nights till 8 o'clock at Pizza Ranch too, and I leave. Main Street has just been bare practically. People are scared. Even the gaming too, I talked to Danny Bakken just for a few minutes this morning and asked him about that. He didn't have any reports of how much they're down, but he said I'm sure they are because with less people in town. The municipal too gives a lot of money out to our community. The hospital's got a lot lately. Theaters, they support us too in our bad times, helping us out different things around town. But like I said, something's going wrong bad, and I've talked to these guys before and stuff, and they help ambulance some on there, so appreciate that too. But yeah, it's a bad reputation around Cooperstown right now, is don't want to come to Cooperstown. Like Steve said, the bull ride too, we have people that come up there, they come down with their families during the day, eat in Cooperstown, do a lot of stuff, the Shriners, everything, so it's just, right now, I hate to say it, Cooperstown, Griggs County, we do have a bad rep right now, and it's tough. So, just wanted to bring that up, because I did have some calls to bring it up and ask if I was coming to the meeting, but, so, just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Paul.
Just have a comment on, after today's meeting, I guess your guys' credibility has really taken a pretty big hit just in the hour we've been here. Your email and what you said has an awful lot of holes in it. You not knowing that it was a smoker when that gentleman offered to sell you tickets for that event. Awful lot of holes in your story too. Not targeting. You weren't targeting, what were you doing? There was nothing else going on in the county. That's the only event going on, so that's not targeting when you just position right there. The 3 highway patrols, what were they doing? Isn't your job to do the county? The highway patrols are called in. What about Binford and Hannaford? That's all I had.
How many were stopped between you and the highway patrolman, the 3 patrol? How many were total were made that night?
Approximately 25.
And do you think that there's a problem with drinking here? We've got witnesses saying that if this is 25 years, 20 years, no DUIs, anything given. 25 people pulled over that night. No DUI. Pretty much tells you what the citizens of this town are there for. That they're there to donate their money, their time again. They're not there to get drunk and be drinking and driving. The drinking and driving thing was taken care of, obviously, through the buses, rides, people pick up. You got 25 people. If that was fishing, you wouldn't bother again. If you tried 25 times and didn't get a fish, you'd be gone. I think in the fishing term, I think you thought you were shooting fish out of a barrel. It didn't work out. I truly just think you guys thought that the smoker was going to be a drunk fest, and you're going to get, this isn't Sturgis, it's Cooperstown, North Dakota, that was putting on an event for children, to the Shriners, the golf tournament. I got a gentleman that called me from Hope, said that they come over, they golf Cooperstown, Finley, Hope, and he said they're going to boycott Cooper and just go back and forth between home now. And he said they need to go and play a few rounds of golf, and then we'll swing uptown to one of the bars and have a drink or two, and then go home, and they just said it's not worth it. There again, it's money between, do they put on gas at the station, golf fees, have a couple drinks, that's all money we're missing out of. I got another gentleman that called me that lives kind of right over by Highway 32. And he said he loves to come over here, likes our vet clinic, and likes our hardware store, and likes a couple drinks. Not coming anymore. He said it's not worth it. He said from where he lives, it's equal distance to go to Valley City or to Mayville. You know, there's business owners up and down, bar owners, hardware stores, grocery store. You know, on his way over here, does his wife call him and say, can you pick up a gallon of milk and something? Well, that won't be coming to this grocery store. The thing of it is that you are so narrow-minded on saturation, of we want that DUI, want that golden ticket, if you want to call it that you have not looked at the big picture. And the big picture is that this is a community that pulls together and donates time. That's the big thing, is fair boards, street dances, mud runs, smokers, people. You know how many people spent time? They said 400 tickets were sold. You know how much time that takes to go and catch somebody after work, before work, to sell 400 tickets? And then it's just ruined. My daughter is a Shriner baby. She was born with a bilateral cleft of the palate. These Masons and Shriners, I've been up to Aneta. I have thanked them guys. I have asked, she was sponsored by the Jamestown Division, and I have asked them, what can I do to help to repay what you've done for my family? Support is what they've all asked for. Whether it be the Shriner Circus, the Masons, the golf tournament. Support. They said this day and age, things are not the way they used to be. Things are overlooked, people are busy, we need support. Well, it's pretty hard to support when you got, when they don't want to show up. And have just an overreach of government, of law. And the fact that when we got deputies here that could easily patrol your first time, I know for both of you to be the deputies here, to know how many people do show up. But I mean, obviously you could tell with 25 pullovers and no alcohol offenses that we didn't need 3 highway patrolmen. We didn't need 8 for highway patrol at all. One last thing I'm going to let this rest on is that we basically had a sheriff here for the last 5 years. Just to put it lightly or briefly, is that we didn't see much, but we still didn't have our money. My gas wasn't being sold then. I'm not saying that that's your fault, but we didn't have a problem in this town. I don't know of anybody ever complaining at 1 o'clock in the morning of being awakened by spinning tires or drunk drivers. We didn't see anybody hitting the ditch or hearing the rollovers or anything. People in this town are pretty respectful, work hard, pay taxes. The fact that we had all these people here today wasting a day, when there's bigger issues, then, not at the moment there's not, but I mean, it's something that's so simple as just some common sense. I just think that we don't need overreach of power, and that's what this is. It's just, can you stand outside and say that you performed within the letter of the law? You stand up and read us all your century codes. You can stand behind that all you want, but for you to stand as a citizen of this county, you said your wife was at the hospital. There's a lot more to life. There's an integrity to life than standing behind a century code.
Anybody else?
got a bike club that comes to the bar every summer, and we come back and forth to the bars, and they support people that are handicapped or sick. And they've already contacted me, they're not coming this year.
On their bike runs?
On their bike run. They're not coming to Cooperstown, they're going somewhere else.
This is motorcycle, right, you're talking?
Yes, motorcycle. And they,
Yeah.
motorcycle groups do wonderful things for people. They're very good. They do the hill climb and, yep, they're great.
Mr. Chairman, I speak briefly. Like I said, I value all your opinions. Over the week, I received 2 phone calls from concerned citizens just looking for, kind of our side of things, what happened. I can't make myself better, I can't make this office better or the county better without some input. So, I appreciate every one of you for taking that time to come here this morning and, make me aware of, some of these other issues that are going on. I can't be everywhere, I can't hear everything. And I'm human, just like every one of us. I'm sure we're all guilty of making a mistake at some point. I have a better understanding, I realize that. I really do apologize for that presence that was made. I do, to Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wakefield's point, I do take responsibility. I asked for the highway patrol. There's a few other factors that go into that, but I asked for it, bottom line. So I take responsibility for that. I never intended for that to happen like it did. Like I said, I can't fix it, but I appreciate you guys coming in here, expressing your opinion, and I never intended for that to happen, and, after hearing everybody's point of views, all I can say is, I hope to, do better and be better, and to the gentleman in the back there, your point, I saw the same thing you were seeing, and I'm not gonna correct that in a public setting, but I will correct that issue, just so you're aware.
So now you're of the opinion that there was overzealous policing that took place?
That's what I said from the beginning. It was a lot.
How many, but the Highway Patrol was the main cause of that overzealous policing?
That's outside of my control.
So
But I asked for them, so I invited them.
So the Highway Patrol was the cause of overzealous policing?
Right, that's part of it.
I'm asking the question, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, our office was there as well, so
Okay,
that's part of
so-
the problem.
So let's take that as a baseline then, and the Highway Patrol was the cause of the overzealous policing. How many stops were there
Approximately 25.
for? 25. How many officers?
4.
4. How many stops did you make? 12.
12 traffic
12.
stops, sir.
So, if the Highway Patrol was the cause of the overzealous policing, and they averaged 4 stops apiece compared to his 12, who was the cause of the overzealous policing?
No, that's what I'm
Is
saying.
that a fair analogy?
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying, and
Well,
all I can do is try and correct the issue moving forward. Like I said, I hope that something like that never happens again.
So you see how upsetting this is to these people here. When he sits up here and tells us he didn't do anything wrong, that's the way it is. The Highway Patrol did it to us, when in fact the Highway Patrol averaged 4 stops apiece, he averaged 12. I think at some point there has to be something done about the problem, and I think we've identified the problem.
Absolutely. And I will, that's why I value your input, and that's why I will move forward to try and make things better. Just from my perspective, I've done, nothing different so far in the few months I've been here, back in Griggs County. I've done nothing different from the previous agencies I worked at, and there was never an issue with this before. But now that I'm aware of what some of these issues are, all I can do is try and make ourselves better.
The county commission does have the ability to solve some of these problems here as far as staffing goes. And I think that is what needs to be debated when we move into the county commission portion of this. What are we going to do in order to solve this? I think we've identified one of the causes of this, and I think that needs to be acted upon. From the public, anything else?
I would just like to say I found it interesting to compare about prom last weekend, and there were no citations. I seen all these vehicles when I went through town. I didn't see no cops, and then after I heard about the smoker, I thought, well, where are all the cops? But there should not be any citations, because this community has been working for years and years and years to have an alcohol-free event for our kids. And a lot of money and every time and everything from this community and parents. And a lot of donations for prizes has been put into that. So I'm not surprised that there were no citations. And I thank my community for all that you do, many of you, all that you do, because I love my community and I'm not one to be out into it, but I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything else from the public?
I think more or less you just gotta, what it takes is like the respect and trust of everyone, and you can't gain trust by doing that. So yes, we have a huge drug problem, and the only reason I'm really here is because it trickles over to the other side of the river. It comes, you know, like we all over there want it to stop too. That's why it needs to stop everywhere, essentially. But you need trust. You guys are investigating now. If you had trust in the community and talked to people around here, I think you'd find out that you'd solve those problems a lot faster. You know, getting out and talking to everybody instead of, oh, we gotta pull them over for this, gotta pull them over. Oh, go up and just have a conversation. You'd learn a lot of stuff. That's, I mean, for instance, I use Wayne Beckman over there. He's been sheriff for
32 years.
Yeah, since, you know, the beginning of time, really. But don't tell me stuff out. But he knows more about Steele County than about 90% of that residents that lives there. If that just goes to show you, like, if someone walks down the street and I say, who's that? He'll give me a whole backstory on that person. But he doesn't have 50 people sitting at, or not 50, but 4 cars sitting at the bar. You know, it's more than just getting the citation. It's the bigger picture. Well, that, you know, you do your investigate, you know how. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else?
I have one comment to make that everybody's talking about bars and alcohol and everything, and I have the grocery store, and I've talked to a few of my customers there, and these are people that don't frequent the bars and don't go there, but they're scared to get pulled over, and that's not right. You know, they're saying, I'm not coming to Cooperstown, I'm going to go to Northwood store and shop, and these are out of town people, because I'm not drinking or anything, but I'm just scared to get pulled over for a license plate being dirty, or we said it wasn't dirty, it was the light. For just things like that, you know, they want to make sure their cars are up to speed and everything, and that's law. I get it; they need to obey the law, but they're scared. You know, a lot of people are scared to get pulled over by you guys because you're intimidating, and you know, that to me that bothers me as far as running my grocery store, is that, you know, it's not just alcohol that we're scared about. It's you guys' intimidation, you know, because we have that on the target on our back now, that we are being. You know, everybody in Griggs County is being pulled over for these things. 12 things you pulled people over for in one night. You can say that it didn't have anything to do with the smoker. I have my own opinion on it. I'm going to keep it to myself, but, you know, when I have customers telling me, and these are, I'm not going to profile anybody, but maybe some little older people or something, and, you know, I don't think that's right. You know, that I don't want people scared to come to Cooperstown to do anything. So it's not just about the alcohol.
And I had heard a report, even some kids that wanted to drive around on Saturday night, they were scared to even do that. You know, smoker aside, like put the smoker all away, that's just not right. When I grew up in Galesburg, my hometown, I came and like every Saturday we were driving around. That's what you did. That 9 o'clock buzzer goes off, you better be home. And
you gotta go home.
You're in trouble. You know, so think of that for a second.
So some of us in here are old enough to remember when we had this problem before, Dean for one. And this is not something that hasn't happened in Griggs County prior. This happened back in the 70s and early 80s. And it evolved to the point where it was driving business out of Cooperstown. Everybody was screaming about it. Finally, the citizens rose up and they did what, of course, they have the ability to do. They recalled the sheriff and they got rid of it. Immediately, things changed, but it took a long time before the trust was restored and people started coming back and using the community for what it's supposed to be used for. The community's supposed to be used for the people in the community. They're supposed to enjoy it. They're not supposed to be scared of it. And from that point forward, from the time that the recall election took place, and a sheriff was put into place that had no experience whatsoever, and he got by, he did things very well. It moved on to a full-time sheriff that was here for 20 some odd years, and then a sheriff after that that was here off and on for 10 years. All that time, the sheriffs, the three sheriffs understood they were part of the community, and they didn't dictate policy to the community. The community dictated policy to them. And so that's what we're missing here. We have law enforcement sitting here citing and century code to us and telling us, here's why you have to behave, here's what you have to do because I said so. It's the other way around in these small communities. It's not that way. The citizens get to determine the intensity of the law enforcement that they want, not individually. We can't say, no, pick him up, don't pick him up. Overall, it's the intensity of it. That sets the mood for the community, and then the community determines whether or not that is an adequate level of law enforcement. This will all work itself out. There's a ballot, there's an election coming up. This is all going to work out. It's a painful process, and everybody has to participate. But there are some things that can be done, and of course, we're going to talk about that later on in the meeting. But it's fairly evident here that what happened is not the norm, and can't continue to be the norm if these small communities are going to survive. No one disagrees that if someone is breaking the law and causing danger, that they should be picked up. But almost everybody agrees that people have to allow to be individuals and not be scared of what they might do because of what the response from law enforcement might be. Zorn made an analogy to fishing, shooting fish in a barrel. I would analogize it to fishing and catch and release. They were out there just picking people up as fast as they could do it to make a point that, look, we can pick him up and him up and her up and her up. For no reason, you people better watch out because I'm in charge. I'm in charge here, and what I say I can do, and if you don't listen to me, I'll show you. Now, silly behavior, because of course eventually the citizens show law enforcement what happens when you do that. They go away. And it's too bad that this has taken place because it takes a long time to fix. And Griggs County, like all small counties, are right on the financial edge. And we need dollars spent here. $1 spent here, the last in the census I saw, it circulates 5 times. It goes around and around in circles. You take that dollar away, you didn't lose $1, you lost 5. And for what purpose? Does anybody feel safer because there was 25 stops made on Saturday night? Does anybody feel better about living here because there was 25 stops made Saturday night? Does anybody believe that the Highway Patrol, as a fairly well-run organization with the trust of the people, does anybody believe that they came in here and caused this unprompted? Doubt it. Really doubt it. We'll find out. We'll find out because we're going to, of course, call them, and they're going to stick up for their reputation. We're going to play this tape to them. We're going to send them and we're going to ask them, what do you think? And if they say, yep, we wanted to do that. We wanted to come and disrupt that smoker. Well, then we got more people to talk to about this. So this thing is, we got to get to the bottom of this. We have to get this redacted material. We have to have someone, third party, look at that and tell us exactly what was redacted, why it was redacted, if it's able to be redacted. And all that's going to get done. It might not get done right today, but all that's going to get done. And now that this is out in the public and it's been in the public square, you not only have to hold
the sheriff's department responsible for what happens going forward. You have to hold the 5 of us. Because we are your voice in this society. You don't get to cast your individual vote in a county commission meeting, but you actually do. You're casting your vote through our vote. And I intend to get Griggs County back to as near normal as it was before. It might take quite a while, but that is my intent, and I think that's the intent of the population that lives here. And we live in a democracy, and there's no doubt there's going to be dissenting opinions to that. But no one is promoting drunken driving. That is not what this is about. This is about harassment of our citizens to prove a point that they have power to impose their will anywhere and everywhere. And I predict that there will be a partial fix to this fairly soon. Anything else from people? No, we're done with that. No.
I just, you know, the rodeo, our golf tournament, whatever, we just need some kind of, and I'm not a guarantee, but we just need some kind of common sense that when we come in for our event, we're not going to be harassed or targeted. I mean, we don't want to move out of, I mean, I've been a member, I've supported this community, done a lot of jobs in this town. And I appreciate the fact that the people have been able to call me and we've been able to work for them, the school, whoever. But it's like, well, do we have to drive around Cooperstown to go to where we're going now or whatever? We just need some kind of satisfaction that we're not going to be targeted when we come in here.
Right. And
I'm sure that the rodeo feels the same way and any other event going on. But I don't understand. I mean, it's just like 25 years of that, not even a smoker. It's a fundraiser for it affects so many people. But why it had to even be? Why did it even come to that? That's the question. And we just need some results that are going to say, hey, we want you here. Come back here. We want you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I think in conclusion, I think the community just feels punished on Saturday. That's how I felt anyway.
They were punished.
That's essentially, yes.
There's no doubt about that. That's why these people are here. And keep in mind, the people that are here are the ones that actually could afford the time to come here, or were not afraid of possible retaliation. I've had a whole bunch of people that have called me and talked to me and expressed their views on this and didn't want it to go any farther because of the retaliation. And that is not something that's going to keep going on in Griggs County, I hope, if we have anything to say about that.
I want to be optimistic and think that this was a learning curve for everybody and that we can move forward from here and again bring it back to where people feel comfortable to want to keep their events and so they don't feel threatened or going to the grocery store. You know, let's skip Cooperstown now because, you know, are my tabs expired? Do I have tinted windows? Do I, you know, yeah, I want that to happen again. You know, but I think it's a learning curve, and I'm being positive. I'm going to feel positive that we can move forward and bring it back. That's my hope here.
Public comment?
I don't think anybody trusts Deputy Rispa. I don't think there's any way he can get that back. What are you gonna do? Tell us, oh, yep, we'll clean up our act, and then in 3 months when it's election time and everybody's like, yeah, things are going pretty good. We don't have any better options. And then all of a sudden, right back to square one, then we gotta start this process all over again? No way.
Checks and balances.
Just
That's all I can say there. Because you can be removed after being elected. It is a process, but it is. And I would have to say to you two, actions speak way louder than words.
Yep.
I don't, somebody can sit there and tell me one thing all you want, but I actually physically watch people and see what they do. You know, that's where it all comes down to.
One last thing.
Yes.
Okay. This is my take on it. I was there. I went to the smoker. I was, let's say, not happy at all on it. Been going for like the last, I think I only missed one or two of the last, I don't know, 20-some years in that one. And everybody goes there that has a good time. And I told you before, you know, upstairs they have the downstairs have the prime rib and stuff and there for. And then they go upstairs, have the gambling and the booze, of course. But like I said before, everybody shows up there has a ride home or somebody to get home. You know, it's pretty obvious in that one. My phone never blows up, ever, hardly, for me as a commissioner. This time it blew up. And for me, that's really unusual for on my end of it. So when people start yelling at me, you know, it's just the way it happens. So anyway, that's my take on that. I was there. I saw the firsthand, these 4 or 3 cops pulled right over from the coachman by Miller's there. I said, really? We're going to do this? And everybody went downstairs and ate after that. And it didn't improve much after that either on that one. I stayed there around till about midnight in between the bar and the smoker and to see what was happening. And I saw you guys patrolling, which is just great on that end of it. But to me, it was almost like sharks circling, looking for the prey, I thought, in my opinion. That really made me mad on that one. So that's my first-hand experience, and that's why I went that night, to see what's going on. I heard this rumor before, it was justified. Anyway, I'd like to thank Rod. I thought me and him were pretty much on the same page on this one, on all the same points that he did earlier on that. So, on that. When I look around the room here, I like concerned citizens. I see fair board members, I see bar owners, PBR, and you go to the PBR, I go up there every year, and I take pictures for local Weekly Squeak, as you all know, on that. And there, they have a good time. That's what you do up at the PBR, you know. And I'm worried about that event coming up in the June on that. And same thing up there too, people go up there, they know they have a ride home, or their bus is waiting and take them out of there on that one. So there's coverage covered on that one. So that worries me on that one. And a good point, I'm glad you showed up for it on that one. The bottom line of this, I think, is the point you said, it's financially hurting the community. I'll just be blunt about that here on that one. Bar owners, everybody else, and we consider and that's what drives this, our engineers in the small community, and that for us is the money wise. Let's be honest on that. So now, so that worries me. My last point is the sheriff department. You know, I've always felt strongly that the sheriff is part of the job is PR, public relations, 100% on some of the issues in that. Law enforcement's there too, and that's the reason I could go back to Steele County. That's why Beckman's been there for 30 years. You know, he knows how he's got to get elected again. You know, that's how you play those things. So, the Century Code, I hear this all the time. Okay, I always think this way. The Century Code, yeah, it's there for a reason, but there's, as you guys know as law enforcement, there's always gray areas. Nothing's ever black and white. You think it is, but it's not on that one. Just the way it is. That's my opinion on that one. And you have a lot of leeway to go either direction. You want to be a jerk or not on this one. So, you can tell I'm a little mad, can't you, on that one. Don't want to get me wrong about law enforcement people. You know, since I got on the commission here, or we have been on the commission here, and John testified this, we increased the budget from 170,000 up to what, 350,000 now?
370.
375,000 now. So we have definitely increased our budget for law enforcement. And recently we did a bunch of extra things for the cameras and stuff like that to get their equipment and that. So anyway, that's my take on this. So anyway.
Anybody else?
I got one last thing to say on this, and it was Spark that talked about the PBR and the fact that we have, when you're coming from Botno, I got lots of family there that are into cattle and stuff, and they cannot believe that we run a PBRW, or PBR rodeo in Grace County, or, you know, in Biddeford, North Dakota. It's a 25 years major task for that to be pulled off and get those bull riders to come in here, and you see everything from the little kids into the grease pig ride to the, you know, the roping and everything. The food events that goes on, the buildings that are built up there, it's just to walk through there and to see communities come together, donate time, to get that together. I couldn't imagine the hours that we don't even know about that are killing the grounds, the fence, the stuff. But the one thing my point I'm trying to get to on this is that I couldn't imagine what they pay, but they buy an insurance policy for a rain out. For if the event gets rained out, for all that hard work and money, they've got an insurance policy for that. They do not have an insurance policy for an overzealous cop that will ruin that event. And I just want that to be said, that, I mean, you have to realize, you think that you're pulling somebody over because they have a dirty taillight or whatever. You are setting a precedent that you can't put a taste in someone's mouth. And going over to Findlay Sheriff, there is a respect there that sheriff has that you can't buy. And that's what we're looking for over here. We want our community, our people to respect their law enforcement. You know, I would suggest that, you know, instead of pulling us over, you know, take some time and donate some time. You know, go put up some snow fence out of PBR rodeo and understand, get to know these people. And when you sweat with them and understand what we do as a community and why we do it, you'll have a different attitude about writing tickets and ruining it. That's all.
Anybody?
I would like to say one thing. What bothers me a little bit about this is, you know, I know the lack of trust in law enforcement is really low right now, but it seems like it dropped way more. We cannot be afraid to call our sheriff's office for any grievance, problem, or whatever we have. It seems like they are scared. They should not be scared. So to get that trust back to call our sheriff's department is going to be extremely difficult. I don't like that. Especially our small town sheriffs. They know each other. They're supposed to know each other. Bobby, Hendrickson, everything. They know everybody in and out of that community. Who you were, what you did, why you did what you did, or the troubles you had, or whatever else. They knew. So the way I see it, it's like these guys, you know, to get some of this trust back or whatever else, you're going to have to go out, you're going to have to do what you can. You're going to have to completely bust your butts and everything else. We will do what we can on our end to fix the situation, but we can only do so much. Also, the member of the community, I want to say thank you for all showing up, but there's also one thing. I understand that this makes it very, very difficult, but if you see anything or if you have a problem, don't be afraid to call. Because that's what they're there for. They're there to answer those phone calls. Whether it's you see somebody drunk driving around, you see a guy causing problems, drugs, whatever else. They also have to be made aware of those issues. If they're not made aware of those issues, they cannot go out and take care of those issues and see like, okay, we got problems in this area, we got problems in this, or this is a main problem, we should probably scout some of these areas, or scout, try to look for this. They have to be made aware of it also. But again, you know, I understand why you guys don't want to make that call. So that's all I have to say.
So that'll conclude the public portion of this. I would hope everybody would stay around for the county commission portion of this, which will be in 10 minutes, as soon as Stephanie says we're going to make a motion to have a 10-minute break.
Yes, I shall make a motion to have a 10-minute break.
Second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Avery. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. 11:35, we're back in session. This will be the county commission portion of this agenda item. Well, we've heard from every avenue in this on this issue. I don't think we've heard all the facts. I think there's still a bunch of facts that need to be investigated, but the overall, my overall opinion of this is that this was out of the norm for a Saturday night in Cooperstown, and it can't become the norm because Cooperstown and Griggs County will cease to be financially viable if they're already on the brink of that anyway. So I don't know exactly what to do about this, but the phrase "you can't teach an old dog new tricks" comes to mind. And sometimes it's easier to remove the problem than to try to fix it. I don't know what that applies to. We're in a position here where, of course, there's an election coming up. The people are going to get to decide this issue. No matter what we do, we don't control the election. We do control a few other things. And I guess it's each individual's commissioner to decide what the people that he or she represents wants done in this. And what I get from it, this is maybe this is incorrect, but there's a huge trust issue that we're experiencing, and the trust issue is the citizens don't feel that they are in control of their destiny here when it comes to free movement and living their life they want to in Griggs County. And that can't be that way. Everybody's got to be assured that there's rules and the rules fit what the community wants, and we're way out of whack on that right now. I'll leave it with that. We need to have a discussion on this as commissioners, and it needs to be done in the light of day, as the people we represent deserve. And the discussion is going to involve some tough decisions, and just because they're tough decisions doesn't mean that you can be afraid of bringing them up. Because there's many different options to this. We're going to have to consult with the state's attorney to see what our options are. And then we're going to have to weigh that against what the majority view of the people we represent is, because obviously we're supposed to carry out their wishes of the majority. Keeping in mind that no matter what we decide here, on either side of it, there's going to be people that are terribly upset about it. That's just the way our system works. 59% wins, the 49% on the other side lost, and vice versa. So I'll open it up for discussion now amongst the commissioners, and we'll go from there. Thoughts?
Well, like I said, we're gonna look into what the state patrol has to say too, right? Obviously, that's not the full cause, but that's one thing we're gonna look into too, right?
Well, I think that's an addition. I think whatever we decide to do is going to either include the state patrol or not.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are the overall cause of this. I can't imagine that being the case. And I would believe they're in possession of the documentation that will prove that's not the case. They were sent that email. And of course they're going to say, no, that isn't what was on there. Or maybe it was, I don't know. But again, half the overall arrests or stops were the result of Griggs County law enforcement.
Right.
Yep.
When you look at the numbers between highway patrol and deputy,
Yep.
you can see where the overreach is at.
Yep.
Mike's got a lot of damage control to do and to figure out a happy medium in his department.
Well, when you see the lack of respect with the deputy, the way he reacted with the people that are here, it's their livelihood. You know, it's not a smirk or a brush off. It's people's dollars and cents that is at stake here.
So the notion that some kind of training is going to fix that is pie in the sky. He couldn't even constrain himself in the presence of all this discontent to show respect. Do you think it's going to happen out on the highway when in the dark of night? No, probably not.
No.
I'm a little concerned that there's a command and control structure within our sheriff's department. It seems to have broken down. It seems to be where the no one's in charge, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, because being fair to Mike is going to have to shoulder all the responsibility for what happened. Mm-hmm. But it appears like he was possibly aware of it, but possibly not in charge of it. That's not an excuse for anybody, but that's a starting point. And I think that's what we need to look at. I think we need to know what our options are, as far as, certainly there's people here and people I've talked to that are demanding that both the sheriff and thusly the deputy be removed. There's also people that are of the determination that there can be some kind of training that will fix this and fix the trust issue with the people. There's also, on the other side of it, a number of people that think that what was done was okay, that it's okay to intimidate people for the greater purpose. We'll make these people scared, so it scares these people, so they'll listen to what we say, and we can cite the century code, and by God, you're going to listen to it. Where is the happy medium in that? And that's what we're going to have to determine. But the only way to restore trust immediately is get the weasel out of the hen house. I don't see any other way to do that. It's just going to be, yep, I'm good, I'll behave, and then I'm not good and I'll behave, and then my phone's ringing off the hook again. And rest assured, the people that are here, I've had phone calls, and probably everybody else has, from just as many people that didn't attend because they were scared of attending. So at this point, we need to ask the state's attorney what our options are.
Well, I guess as far as options, what are you looking to do?
Well, I mean, we have to explore this all the way from both sides, without being, because it has to be explored. So at the far end of it is, do we have the ability to remove the sheriff or the deputy individually, or the sheriff? At the other end of it, what happens if we do nothing? What are then our duties, or what obligation, or what trust is broken down with the public, to everything in between?
Okay. So, of course, you can do nothing and leave it up to the voters. There's a primary election in June with the election in December. So you can leave that up to the citizens to make that decision. Now, the sheriff typically is an elected position, and typically the commission would have no power to do anything with the sheriff's office. However, in the instance with Sheriff Beaver was appointed, and I guess I think I advised you guys of this right away at the appointment, but as an appointment, if you terminate someone that you appointed into an elected position, I don't believe that you're usurping the power of the people as the commission. If you were to terminate someone, there's an AG's opinion. I think the citation is 96-F-01, and then there's a case that Aaron Burst has shared with me as well, that you have the power to terminate someone who is appointed into that position. As far as control, I'm kind of talking about both sides of my mouth here. As far as control over whether someone is terminated from within the office, I don't think that you guys have the power to do that, but you have the management power over the office. So I didn't do a whole lot of research on that, but this same opinion, 96F01, does say that you are and this talks about elected officers again, but you don't have the duty, the duties or powers to fire or hire someone within that office. I believe that is the same with an elected and an appointed position, but I haven't done enough research on that specific question to be really comfortable in the guidance I'm giving you guys.
So then in that opinion, without nailing it down, the commission would not have the ability to terminate the deputy. That would be the responsibility of the sheriff.
Right.
Okay. Anything else?
You guys have that realm, I mean, from nothing to termination, that's, and anything in between, I guess you have that ability to do that.
And would that same authority extend then to the the upcoming budget process, so the deputy's position could be eliminated in the budget process?
Typically, the commission has the power of the purse. Correct.
Mm-hmm. But it can't be specific to an individual.
Correct. It can't be specific to an individual. It can be specific to
the position.
A position if for funding a position. Correct.
Okay.
So our hands
are tied.
We can't do anything as far as the deputy either.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Can be strongly advised. What do you think?
You can strongly advise the
Mike, what do you, I mean, I know you kind of have to deal with all this, what do you feel is kind of what you should do, or what do you kind of feel that's right? Because at the same time, I think we should get Mike's opinion on this too.
What?
You know, I mean, I understand, law enforcement side, but, again, what the people want and everything else, what do you feel? Because this falls back on you too, what you got to do.
Absolutely. So, in regards to Deputy Driscoll, he's been really excited and motivated. I mean, he's new to law enforcement. That's how most new cops are. They want to get out there. They want to make those stops. Do their thing. The issue I've had, is you can kind of see it a little bit from today's meeting. A little bit with that. I don't know if you'd call it arrogance, maybe is the right term with it. There's also some issues stopping, minimal stops, like it was brought up, with the license plate light. That's personally, just as an officer, we all have our discretion. Well, personally,
like I said, there's gray area.
Right. So that's something that I don't think I've ever stopped for in my 10 years as law enforcement. And that's what I've tried to express with Deputy Rispo. Is we got to make a little better judgment call here, because we are Cooperstown. We're a small community, we're rural. And the other flip side of that coin is there's only two of us. And, I've expressed, my concerns with Deputy Rispo before, and I personally feel bad about it, because I'm not able to be there as much as I'd like to be, to give him that guidance, to help him, to try and train him. I mean, I've done a lot more than I've done with other deputies and other agencies I've worked with. personally, I feel like I'm kind of setting him up for failure in a way, and I mean, here we are, so.
He's also the face of the sheriff's department, and so it's hard to, and the way you look, it depends upon what your employees look. You know, if I had an employee personally sitting in a meeting and being disrespectful as he was, I would be, that looks upon me, on my staff and my facility. So my personal thought was the way he was sitting there disrespectful was like, oh, you are not helping yourself. And it reflects ultimately upon the business, which is the sheriff's department. And I think people will hold judgment on you and not give you a fair chance. This is my personal thought, mind you. Won't give you a fair chance to succeed as a sheriff because you're going to be judged upon your employee. That's my personal thought on that, is that people are going to look at your employee. Downfall is you don't have anybody else to choose from. If you don't have that employee, then who do you have? You can only work so many hours a day. You can only have so much coverage. And then if you have to bring somebody in from another county, now that's going to go over your budget to be able to compensate to bring somebody else in. So it outweighs. Is it worth, you have to think about it. Is it worth letting somebody go because he is the face of the sheriff's department and having to pay the more expense to have somebody else, or what can you do, or what do you do? That's a big decision on your part, because we don't have any, we can't make decisions for you.
I guess.
Well, no, we can make the decision if you listen to what State's Attorney Tennyson said. He said we don't have the ability to fire the deputy.
Right.
We have the ability to fire the sheriff, and that would accomplish the same thing, wouldn't it? We have the ability to remove the sheriff, and if we remove the sheriff, the deputy is removed also. So it comes down to in the most extreme situation, is the sheriff going to make some kind of move forward to try to satisfy what we've all heard here tonight, or is he going to say, no, he'll be good, right, I guess it's okay, we'll give him a little training and then we'll keep an eye on him? And what does anybody believe after this performance that he put on in here today that anything's going to change the minute he's out of earshot? No. Of course not. So why are we sitting here debating? This is going to be a terrible, tough decision, and we're going to have to live with it, and we're going to catch from both sides. But what is the best to get Griggs County back the way it's supposed to be? Again, if the damn weasel gets into your hen house, you don't grab the weasel and say, bad weasel. You kill him. We're not killing him, metaphorically.
We're removing the problem.
Metaphorically.
You remove the problem,
I was talking about a weasel in a hen house. Okay, it's a metaphor.
You don't.
Politically correct runs deep, evidently. So that's what we're faced with. It's a tough decision. Everybody wants to sidestep it and say, well, I don't know what we do. Well, this was good, this was good. No, it wasn't good, because the people that ultimately came here aren't going to think it's good unless it's a change.
Well, that's why I turned back on the sheriff, because it's good to hear his comments, because everything falls back on him.
Right.
Everything. He's in charge of the department. He's the one who's going to be up for election, or I should say, well, I suppose election, especially since we have a special election. It's, what does he feel he has to do, regardless of what we think.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like it's. I mean, there's a primary coming up. A write-in vote will put somebody back onto the main ballot. That's not a. It's if the sheriff wants to restore confidence in his office, he needs to fix the problem that's causing the lack of confidence in the office, and that's pretty easy to see what's going on. And that's only one step. What happens if he does that? What happens if he should remove the deputy, and then the problem continues? Then I guess we know where the problem actually was. But we can't figure out where the problem was until we take a step in that direction.
I don't know if it's all right, but I talked to Tyler once, or Dr. Reeves. Anyway, when he was stopping all these people behind the bars and different things like that there, and I said, why you do? He said, well, point blank is, I talked to the sheriff, And he told me to do it more. That's what he had told me, like. And I'm not saying to put you down or anything else, but on the same token, he is a direct face of you in the public. And if you did say that to him, and that he's just carrying out your wishes, because that's what he was told to do. At least that's what he told me.
And conversely, if Mike didn't tell him that, and the deputy is putting the blame on Mike.
Yeah.
And here we go. This, if anybody,
that's the situation that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I mean, also, like I said, he kind of shut it off, like, did I really try to sell him tickets? I sold him gun tickets at the same time to both Mike and Taylor, instead of just, because I'd offered them the smoker tickets as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, if to put this in terms that we all understand, we've all been in some sort of business over the years, and if an employee made our business look this bad, they probably wouldn't be our employee anymore.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short of it.
And the question I have for Mike is that we'll know next meeting once we speak with the highway patrol and we go through these emails, because there's just way too much missing, and there's too much that has happened for the amount of patrolmen that came and everything, and a very vague email sent. So I think that at that point we'll know where you stand. And the question I have for you now, with not knowing that answer, is when he's making these arrests, and not really arrests, I guess, but like I said, the phone calls I've gotten is, leaving the Sutton bar, being pulled over for 56, 57 miles an hour. And the other question I have is, there again, this goes over to what we talked about with respect and earning that respect, is that two of the comments that were to me is that they were looking for their insurance, or I guess it was only one. He said he was very rude, flexing of his authority, that when they were looking for their insurance and couldn't find their insurance card, that he was very rude and telling them that he could write them tickets for that, and that they didn't to have it. Yeah, we all are supposed to have that stuff. There again, we're in a small community. You more likely know this person, see this person. That's just a. So my question is with that is, when he comes back with that kind of stuff, obviously, I would believe that you read his reports or you guys visit in the office, and he's telling you that he's making arrests for 56 or 57 and 55. Do you not say, whoa, pump the brakes here a minute? Or are you asking him to do that? Are you looking for an arrest at any cost?
So that specific scenario, I've never once made a comment about that. We all know, is that illegal? Yes, but my rule of thumb has always been, I don't stop people until they're doing 10 miles over the speed limit.
Okay.
That's exactly what I expressed to him. So what you're talking about, I'm not familiar with that, so I'd have to go back and look, because I've never heard of him making that stop.
It was brought up to me yesterday, so and I guess my question is, if at that kind of a stop, I guess, and where I'm going again with this is where, we talk about employees, if you have a bad employee or the face of the company, you get rid of that bad apple, because it's going to make you ultimately look bad, which ultimately makes Griggs County look bad, which we've seen in great force. I think a lot of this could have been avoided if that was truly your intention, was for the good of the people, that you could have averted this a long time ago. But if you were the backbone of it and telling him to make arrests, I guess as a boss, if you want to put it this way, you as the sheriff, his boss, If you don't know what he's doing and he's doing that stuff, well, I would say that really falls on you very badly. And there again, if you do know what he's doing and you are enticing him to do it, there again, it falls on you very badly. So ultimately, it's a win, or it's a lose-lose for you, but I guess as a owner and been an employees, I have never known my employees do things like that and not known about it. So, and like I said, I think we will ultimately know the answer next meeting when we get to the bottom of the highway patrol to where your involvement was. So I think we will know the answers to this.
One situation we dealt with is where I work, we had a tremendous employee. He would hammer out the work, everything else. He was really good at what he did. He was horrible to the customers. He was horrible to employees. We terminated him. Boss lost money over it, but he knows ultimately that it was worse on the business to keep him on the payroll than it was to have him as an employee. So he knew that's the hardest decision he ever made, because he knew once he kicked him out and told him to go work somewhere else, he instantly lost money, instantly. But he had to save the business. It's like you got a bad arm, you got to remove that arm to save the body. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying as a prime example right there. It was the right thing to do, but he is the hardest thing he did.
Well, aside from being down one law enforcement officer, I don't see a negative side to it. We can temporarily replace with hiring temps and things like that. So I don't see the downside to it. I see a lot of upside to it, because it might give us a temporary restoration of confidence in Griggs County law enforcement. From Mike's personal point of view, it certainly would give him a little bit better chance of regaining the trust of the people that he's going to require voting for him in order to be the permanent sheriff of Griggs County. So this is pretty simple to me as a business owner, how this should take place. Again, we don't have the ability to get rid of the deputy. We have the ability to, the way Jamie spells it out, we have the ability to remove the sheriff. I don't know what option would be best. I think that option remains. Our action, I think, is really determinative of what Mike's action is first.
Yeah.
Is what I believe, and I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's any need for. I don't think there's any need for explaining in detail what has to happen. I think everybody knows what has to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and as a manager of a facility for, I've been doing it for 20 years, I have made errors and mistakes and lots of learning curves, and I mean, to this day I still make mistakes and learn from them, but it's the sake of learning it, going by your mistakes, and then moving forward from it and improving yourselves is kind of what we need to do as a manager places. So that's my point, is like, we're not all perfect. I've made errors in the past, I still make errors today, you know, make wrong decisions. It's just how we come out of when something happens where we have an incident like this. It's like, now what are we doing to make it better? What can we do to do the damage control, to give a good name back to Griggs County so that we don't lose businesses and events and stuff like that, so.
You know the difference, though? You admitted to the mistake.
Right.
So far, I didn't hear why anybody as far admit that there was anything done wrong. It just was done not to the liking of Griggs County. Well, no, we didn't do anything wrong. Here's a century code that said I can do it. Well, then I jaywalked today on the way in here, but there's a century code against that.
It's hard to admit defeat, yes.
It's pretty easy to see where the problem lies when he defends himself with century codes and then gets questioned by the public by it and just rolls it off with a shrug, you know.
I tried to I asked Mike twice, and to his credit, I asked him if he was sure he wanted the deputy to be representing the sheriff's department. and in this engagement here? And he said yes, and I'm glad he did.
Yes.
It certainly confirmed what a lot of people have thought.
Yeah.
And now it's a process of elimination.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
The one, what, John?
go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing. I talked to another, it was actually it was a park over there, he was on the golf course. Anyway, he made the comment, what he'd been hearing out there in the public is they screwed up, no question about that. It's not a Kimball thing. What he wanted from you, Mike, was an apology, which you did today. Apologize for the, the excess, that kind of thing, That's what they're looking for from the public end of it. That's what I heard from you was that, I tried to better next time and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what my take was on it from that person, so. Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to come to a resolution today. I think we're going to have fairly quickly, we're going to have to know what Jamie's determination on the redacted material, whether or not that was actually redacted material or some of it could have been in this release, and then we have to get that back out to the public if that's the case. But I think we can move on until we determine what the sheriff is going to do about this situation, because ultimately now it's in his hands, and then his actions could possibly put it back into our hands. Is that a fair assumption?
I would agree.
Very good.
Do we want to move forward for next meeting though, with the highway patrol to find any more?
Yes, we need to send them the recording of this whole encounter here. We need to request that they be at least on Zoom on the next meeting, and we need to determine whether or not they agree with what was said.
Okay, perfect.
So right now, I think we should take another recess. The real lawyers and judges have to get into this facility here real quick. So we got to get this switched over for a 1 o'clock court date.
Are we going to move over there then?
Yeah.
Okay. You kicking us out, Kelly?
She's kicking us out.
Kelly's
So
kicking us
now
out.
we'll need another motion to recess.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by,
Second that motion.
How long?
well, 15 minutes to move everything.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be
Motion by Tranby to take a 15-minute recess, second by Zorn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. You guys are all welcome, and then there's enough room in the next meeting room. Good afternoon. Griggs County Commission's back in session at 12:18. The Fair Board's up now. I didn't realize that they've been sitting here waiting. We could have put them in front, but who's going to explain that to us? What you need done?
Just in general of what we're looking for?
Yeah.
You can ask any of us questions. I'm the president currently of the Fair Board, and we've got our members here, Jeff, Lexi, and Jerry also, and we have our attorney here that can maybe answer any questions there might be on the actual contract itself that you have in front of you.
Okay, so maybe I'll just give a summary what I think it is, and you can correct me. I'm quite sure I'm wrong. So the Fair Board is looking for some property to be deeded over to them so that they have the property so they can build on it, have the ability to take loans out on it, have the ability, okay. So the property that is in question is all the property that Griggs County owns down there, or is it a portion of it? And the question is, there's other entities that use Griggs County property. How are we going to ensure that they have access to the property they need?
Everyone, I'm Josh. As you guys mentioned, I'm representing the Fair Board. They essentially sent me on a fact-finding mission to figure out who owned the land that we're talking about. I have a few maps here that I highlighted. If you guys wanted to take a look. Yeah, I'll try to look at this. This is a highlight of the Fairgrounds addition to the city of Cooperstown. You guys are probably familiar since you all live here. You can see from the aerial view, the area highlighted is the lots that are currently owned by the county that we'd like to give back. The other lots we're interested in is Block 1 in the top left, and then the rest of Block 2 and Block 7, which is the other half of what's highlighted.
These
That-
two.
Yep, that's currently owned by the city of Cooperstown. We're working with them on getting that transferred over too. They're pretty cool with all this and everything, and they're understanding and everything else.
Pretty much what we explained to them is we're just looking to expand, and we tried to do that through adding on to the community building we already have, but unfortunately, it's a pole structure, it's a pole barn, because of the pitch of the roof. We can't have anyone, you know, put an addition to it. Also, the sewer, I'm not big on that, includes a push pump, so we can't really utilize that in the winter, even if we did make an addition. We're also looking to put more handicap accessible doors, bathrooms on it, make it larger for people that are, you know, liking to have things that include more than 50 people.
And year round.
And year round, right, air conditioning, heat, those important things that we don't currently have, indoor bathrooms.
And the other thing is we can't get a loan,
To be able to own the land.
You can't
get a loan to build on land that you don't own.
Yes.
And the same with some of the grants also are expecting us to,
No,
of
we
course,
understand
have the
that.
property. Yep.
So the southern 4 or 5 lots here, are those occupied by the museum?
The far south there,
Yeah.
they're privately owned.
Yeah, right this way.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
way,
way.
way south, yeah.
I'm actually not sure who owns those.
No, I mean, let me put this a different way. Is this green zone here, does the museum sit in that green zone?
No, there's nothing,
We don't
the
own nothing.
museum, no.
Okay, that's my
The
question.
green
Not-
zone is just owned by the county, and the historical society has their own
Own
portion
lots.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that's the only concern is that
These
the
are all
property
pretty much
that, the
empty
property that the Fair Board wants
They're already currently
is not being used
Okay.
currently by another entity.
Absolutely,
Okay.
right. The museum is on, nothing that is highlighted has
Okay.
any
They
museum
include like
property.
our community building currently,
Okay.
like is in that.
And the barn and other,
Yeah, the barns and the.
So where do you wanna build this thing at?
Well-
We're talking about where the current ice rink is located.
Oh,
where the
there.
old community building
Oh, the old
was.
one was there.
Yes.
So we have access to sewer, full sewer and full water from the curb.
And when talking to the park board, they've been looking at grants to get a new ice rink
Right.
that's plastic and not wood and not as dangerous.
So maybe this contract, maybe we can't get over it right now, is that correct?
I don't think, and I spoke with their attorney, I think we take until the next meeting to mull it over.
Okay.
I think the land agreement probably is all right, I just got it this morning and got a little bit of a hectic meeting.
So is it fair to say from the group consensus that we're in favor of doing this, we just to make sure the legal part of it's done correctly? Is that fair
Yep.
consensus?
You need a motion on that?
No, I mean, if that's.
I think we wait until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just want to assure the Fair Board that this isn't being held up for because we disagree with it. It's because we need to make sure that, of course, as we're deeding property, which is a property of the citizens, to another entity, we make sure that benefits the citizens overall.
I think the
That
one thing
sound
that
fair?
we have is the property tax, the one contention, or maybe the one concern is property tax and special assessment exemption, and I need to do a little research on that.
Okay.
I think the county can abate or doesn't tax another government sub the property taxes, and maybe Sam has a better idea of this, but I think the special assessment through the city, I think that might probably be a hang up, but I'm not 100% certain without getting some time to research it.
The specials can't be abated.
Right.
Specials can't be abated.
I mean, because the county pays
Right.
specials to the
Right.
city. I mean, though I don't,
I think that might, and that's not really, I mean, I think we take that off of here, but I think that might be our one holdup with the agreement is what to do with specials, because I don't think anything can be done with specials.
I think you guys are right. There's, I kind of threw this together preliminarily before I took a look at the Century Code, looking at the unique situation that a Fair Board is, because they're not technically a subdivision of the county. They are, and the Grigs County Fair Association is one too. They're actually registered as a nonprofit corporation in the state of North Dakota.
Mhm.
So they do operate independently from the state or a municipality, but they are restrained by their own provision of the Century Code. And they do have an exemption provision for property taxes in the Century Code, except for fire protection and any municipal assessments. Yeah, the limitations on that.
And I believe that's correct. I think the specials is maybe a hold up.
Yep.
But property tax, I think, they can be exempt from.
Good.
Any questions?
No, we just wanted to be here in case you had any questions from us.
Yes, thank you.
No,
We're aware of something that's good.
This is exciting and new. I like improvement, so.
We like to
And this
offer
is,
things.
this
Yeah.
is also so you guys can grow and offer more stuff, correct?
Absolutely, so
Yeah.
if other people want to use the facility for maybe the archery, maybe shooting sports, maybe a full-out wedding and reception, you know, our kitchen would be up to date.
I know that barn, a lot of people do use that barn for weddings and, I shouldn't say weddings, but receptions.
The community building.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
We just need to make sure there's a community left around to use it.
Right.
yeah.
So, question for you, what would you, so, these two, what would you mention, you want us to deed this to you, right? So what's your plans for this then eventually? You're only looking at this part right here, right?
They're looking at all of this block,
Yeah, correct.
and then all of this block, and all of this.
Yeah, so all the stuff around it also.
The city owns the rest of
The
it.
city owns this
Yeah.
part.
And
The city owns
All that.
these
we
and
deeded,
all this.
I think we deeded that to the city
You
back,
guys actually did deed it back.
like in 2014. I
Yeah.
was here when that happened, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we just like to update
Huh?
in the area you're in, update the horse arena to allow, you know, events to happen there, maybe
because-
ranch rodeos and stuff, but
Why did
Is
we
the
do
derby
that?
ring on here too? Because
Just
you guys
because
are
we
in
were
full
in
control of
business
that
in
too,
No.
or no?
There we go.
I wasn't sure if that
Sounds like
was
something
part
I'd
of the
say.
culture.
Historical Society owns half of our
That sounds like something I'd say, yeah.
That's perfect.
Right.
We're not.
Typically, that's what you do, you take the property back for taxes and give back to the city if it's an incorporated city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I got a curious question on this, and it has nothing to do with us deeding this to you or not. But how does it even work down for you guys to have a derby on land that's not yours for his insurance? I mean, how do you, I mean, does the city insure it, or does the fair insure it? How does that work?
we insure through the fair
Yeah,
board.
it's insured through the fair, through the county, we work with Bank Forward.
Okay,
And it's an event we put on.
okay.
They don't give us a, you know, it has to be on your land, but we are sponsoring the event, so we are able to put
Just
insurance
like the
on it.
parade and
Yeah.
everything else, we
Oh,
just give them
sure.
a list of all of the events and they're covered.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, it should cover, anything else? That's it? Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Wayne
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
and KLJ.
Yes, Griggs County Bridge right-of-way waiver evaluation. All appearances is on.
Paul is on, and he did send me some updated forms. Paul, are you on?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. So we just want to need to approve the waiver valuation to avoid having to do individual appraisals for the property for the bridge project. I guess I submitted that a while ago here. I can share the screen if you'd like. Or is it in the?
I think
oh, no,
I
it's disabled.
put it in the
Yeah,
packet.
okay. You did, okay. So there's just that 3-page document that has, or actually, 5-page document that comes up with a conclusion of value based on the 3 recent sales near the Cheyenne River in Griggs County, with the valuations at $3,400 an acre. And that's a little bit higher than, you know, the typical land that the NDSU Extension Service puts together of 2571, but that includes mostly agricultural land, and the properties that we chose were closer to the river, which are higher value. So I think it would probably be fairly easy to acquire at that level, that 3,400 an acre. Is there any thoughts on that, or any concerns with setting that valuation?
Is it going to offend the landowners? That's always the fear that they don't want to sell, and then we offer them something that they think is way too low. And that sets the stage for a standoff.
Yep, and I think that's, I mean, a fairly decent valuation for that. If you look at the other sales around there, sale number 1 is the closest to the project, and that actually had the lowest dollar price per acre. So, I mean, if you want to use that number or set it to something higher, we can sure do that. And if you have any pushback from them, we do have till December. Well, project bids in December now, but I guess we want to have the right-of-way purchased at least 3 months ahead of that.
Shouldn't we reach out to them and ask them if it's for sale and what they want for it? Wouldn't that be the way to do it rather than use?
We've already talked to the landowners.
Yeah, they're fine.
Talked to them right away for the bridge.
Yep.
They were fine, but we never said any dollar amount at that time.
Sounds like,
Now it's what-
sounds like a pretty good price, I thought, you know, those.
It's only,
you know.
Yeah, I think it's fair, and then it also, they're getting the benefit of having the bridge in place again too, which,
No,
you know,
no, I
adds
understand that. The only person that can determine a fair,
they'll donate it.
the only person that can determine a fair price for, if I'm selling something is me. Right? What you think is fair is not relevant to it, because I can just say, no, I don't want to sell it. Shouldn't we reach out to ask them? Isn't that a common courtesy?
Well, I guess normally we'd want comparable sales, and if there's resistance to it, I mean, we can always do an administrative settlement and add value to it. It's, Jamie was gonna do the negotiations, so that was out of our scope to reach out to them directly.
how many acres is there?
Let's see, the permanent acquisition is, one is 0.61 acres on one side of the road and 0.61 on the other, so 1.22 from Silver Dangles, and permanent is only 0.07 from Decker. Then there's temporary construction easements that are based on 10% of the valuation around those, but they don't give that land up. That's just to facilitate, cutting ditches and putting fences in. Yeah, so pretty minor impact, and it's, all low land next to the bridge, so I don't think they're losing any productive part of their property.
So you just need our,
Do you need a motion from us, or what do you need from this?
Basically approve
Yeah, you
on,
need a
approve on the
motion to-
price, and then you would just go back at them with the price, is basically what you're asking?
Right, Jamie will go out and, we prepared the documents with that valuation on there already, and sent it to Jamie to get them negotiated with the landowners. If there's adjustments beyond that, that's fine. It's just setting the waiver valuation so we can proceed without having to go through the appraisal process.
Good.
Because you end up paying more for the appraisals than you will for the right of way.
so we're not gonna give them the chance to tell us what it's worth.
Well, it's negotiation, right? You're giving them an offer, they can take it or leave it, and come back with a different value. If you need those documents adjusted, we'll add them.
Can't it work in reverse? I mean, well, really? Can't they give us an offer and we can come back and say, no, that's too much? Or, I mean, if we're going to, isn't it common courtesy to let somebody whose land it is determine the price?
Is that how we've
Right,
done it?
you give them an offer, if they don't like it, they'll tell you, it's a negotiation, not a all or nothing thing.
We should, this is what we've done in the past, though. We give them the offer and they can negotiate with us that, right? Is that how we've done it before?
Well, I guess as part of the negotiation, unless it's not permissible, I can contact them, and I haven't contacted them yet. My plan is to do it in the next couple of weeks, but just ask them what they think is fair.
Okay.
That's what
But we don't need to make a motion for you to talk to them, though, do we?
What do
No,
you,
that's
what do you,
part of the process.
what do you need from us then? I guess that's my question.
Well, he was asking permission to tell them what it's worth and go and then send, or have Jamie.
Well, I mean, I
yeah.
think we can set guidelines on that. I think still having you guys approve that number would be fine, and
Okay.
then having to come back and say, hey, they think it's worth this price, gotta come to you guys and ask for more money. I mean, I think it gives the ability to,
You basically got a bottom dollar and then
come
you
back and
go off
say,
of that.
yeah, this is what we want and it's within that scope, and we just get it taken care of, and if it's not, then I come back to you guys
So,
and
yeah,
say,
this
hey,
just sets the stage for the initial offer, and that's, we're following the DOT process, we don't, and basically that's how it always is, you give an offer, and they come back with whatever concessions or additions they need,
Yeah.
and that goes on the,
All I'm saying is I think there's a easier way to do it. I'm, maybe it's just because I'm using myself as the one that owns the land, and someone tells me that here's the offer for your land, and that's what we're gonna pay you, I'd say, well, I got the next 7 years to be in court with you then. Cause you don't get to tell me,
Right, this is-
you don't get to tell me what I get to sell my land for, even if it's more than it's worth.
right, but I mean, I guess this is just,
But is this our motion to accept this and say, yeah, we as a board are okay to offer that, and then you
Yeah.
can come back?
That's what you're.
yeah, I think that's
Okay.
the way to do it, and I'll negotiate. I'll figure out.
And then you'll
some
figure it out,
taken
so,
If they want more, you'll come back with us with the number and then we can
Yeah.
discuss it from
Okay.
there.
so it's like I make a motion to accept the offer for negotiation? Or, I don't know how to make the motion right, to make it right.
appraisal waiver valuation.
Where it's, you make a motion to accept the waiver evaluation and allow the state's attorney to present that to the landowner.
That's his words. That's exactly what I said.
Say it again.
Huh?
Say it again. Waiver.
Yeah, we'll jot down.
What?
What's it called? A waiver?
Waiver evaluation?
And
Motion by Stephanie,
I'll second it.
seconded by Tranby. Got it?
Yep, I think so.
So we're not entering.
And if it's open for discussion, all three of those sales were within the last 2 years as well.
Yeah, they're pretty current.
I think the majority of
Yep,
those
and-
were
and
actually
we buy
done
it.
this winter.
It's winter, I say that.
Okay,
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Further discussion? We're not accepting it. This need to be a roll call vote? No, we're not accepting the terms yet. We're just offering the terms. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carried.
thank you.
Sales ratio study.
That was all I had for you today.
Oh,
Thank you.
do the abatement, Stephanie. Take over and do the abatement. I gotta take this call and wait for.
All right. We will move on and review the abatement.
These both came from the township. I think they came as one, so I think that they just didn't fill out the backside of the other one. If that makes any sense, because they filled out that they are going to leave as is. So I assume that's the same with this one as well. Does that make sense?
Right. So
So
they have
there's
a-
that one. Sorry, on your pages.
It's either page
On your
24.
page 25, up at the top,
Yeah.
they voted to leave it. And then on the top of page 23, they didn't fill that out, but they both came from the township together, so I'm assuming that that's the same with this one as well.
So they're saying that they brought in a mobile home, upgrade their home in 2022. And in 2024, they want to leave it at the, they want to leave it as what it was, at 94,000?
So they denied the abatement. The township denied it.
Okay. And we tend to follow the townships, don't we?
You do. Good.
John's back.
So did the township give the reason for the denying it?
Leave as is because a new home was built in 2024. No value was added because no notice was not given.
So basically, they weren't aware of it, so that's why they're denying it.
I don't know.
And we tend to follow suit with the townships, so.
I think we need more information on this one. What's a mobile home have to do with it?
I think she lived in a mobile home. She was
Right.
living in one of those double wides or
But
whatever.
I mean, it was sold.
He was moved out or moved on?
No, it was sold and moved. I think moved in 2000. I think she bought and moved in 2022. So I think she means it was bought by someone else and moved in 2022.
Okay.
I know there was some question on getting the mobile home registration deleted also. I think we need some more information on this. Who's
Do you want the Rosendahl Township to come?
Yeah.
Yeah, can they come explain it to us? Because I don't want to go one way or the other without fully understanding it.
Okay.
I know there was been some problems getting the mobile home off the tax rolls. And I don't know if that's part of this or what's going on, but we need somebody from Rosendahl to come and explain it to us.
Okay.
Next meeting.
They built a place there in 2022?
I don't know that. I don't know.
The current full and true value of 2024 is 94,000,
Yep.
but they would like to move the full and true value to be 0. Is that correct? Is that what it's saying? And you can't really do that either, can you? Because it's
Because the property's gotta have some kind of value, whether it's empty or not.
Well,
Right.
let's get I think there's a problem with how this was filled out. Let's get it straight so we know what facts we're
Okay.
talking about.
Sounds good.
Abatement. Sales ratio study. Looks like the person we had hired back up.
Yes. The state contacted me last week asking, because they did give us an extension until May 1st to get it in, asking if we are on track to make that deadline, and I had to let her know that no, we are not on track because we did have somebody contracted. Now she backed out, and you guys were going to discuss it today, so.
So I think we've explored every avenue possible in this. And keep in mind, the state works for the taxpayers just like we do. I think we send the state the information they need to compile it, and we send them a letter by our state's attorney stating that we have done everything in our means possible short of walking out in the street and grabbing somebody and making them do it. We don't have the ability to do it. They do. They can charge us for what they do. They're routinely charged for audits and things like that, and that's the position we're in.
So basically just make the state itself do the
Have
study.
they ever done that before?
I don't know. But I mean, what else are we supposed to do?
I can draft a letter and I can speak with them beforehand and see if you want to forward me the email and let me know who's in the department that can do it.
And if that doesn't work, I think we should reach out. We pay dues to the Association of Counties. Certainly they can help us with this also. But again,
I can reach out. I actually have a meeting, board meeting Thursday. I can reach out to Linda with Association of Counties, and see if anybody's willing to do it.
I mean, certainly the state, again, they work for the taxpayers. They have the responsibility to it just like we do. We've exhausted our means of trying to fix this, and whatever you guys want to do. But I don't see why what do we do? We had people back out, we had people accept it and they're not going to show up. We've had everything we can possibly do. But if you'd like to see if, well, up to you guys, what do you want to do?
I'd say, Jamie, reach out and see what you can do. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of legal way to do this, or some kind of, I can't say loophole, but a way through you where you can talk to them and organize something.
Yeah, I can talk to them. You know, we reached out to tax directors. This might be a little dirty, but we didn't reach out to commissions to see if they'll just assign it. And ultimately, they're the bosses. That's,
So there is.
I don't want that suggestion to come out of my mouth, but
So there is an option for indentured servitude. Have the commission indenture the tax director. Never thought of that one, good one. Yeah. Well, there's another option, you guys. Instead of contracting with the tax director, contract with the county. I did have a question on her, and I don't think this means anything, but what does licensure mean? I am sorry for backing out, but I don't want my licensure to affect my current position with Bottineau County.
I would guess she's talking about the certification.
So if something's not right, I'm sure it'd come back on her, and she's probably afraid that it's gonna affect her license to do it. Is that
That's the
right?
only thing I can think is her 40 hours or whatever it was of certification.
Oh. Well, that was confusing. So taking the next step, do you have a county in mind?
No, I would get shot in Nelson County if I suggested Nelson County, so no.
So what's the consensus? What do you guys want to do?
Necessarily we wouldn't, have Jamie reach out and see what he can do, and, you know, go from there. I mean, hopefully, like you said, if nothing Jamie can do, we'd reach out to the state and say, hey, our hands are tied, we've done everything we could. What can you do to help us?
Is that in the form of a motion?
I will make that motion, yes.
Motion by Averill to reach out to the Association of Counties and to see if they can assist, and if not, to then contact the state and tell them, explain our predicament and see what they can also do to help. That sound right? Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Second by Zorn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Just can't ever seem to get rid of that one. Sick leave donation. Wayne, I think you
Yes.
can explain this one.
Yep. Gary Warburg has used up all his vacation, taking care of his wife.
Yep.
And there's 3 of us from the road department would like to donate 100 hours each to him. He will be coming back in May, first one in May.
Okay, so I'm all about this, but I am gonna be the stick in the mud about this. Because my question is, in the policy book, okay, so in my job, if somebody leaves, employee leaves, they take their vacation with them, so they own the vacation. But the sick belongs to the facility, so if they leave, we don't pay out the sick at all. So if people wanted to donate to somebody, I'm gonna have them donate their vacation because that's theirs, they earned, they take it when they leave. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Am I, okay, so here.
They've earned the sick leave too.
But when you work here and you earn the sick leave, I mean, they earn the sick, but when they leave, they don't take it with them. So that's
They can get paid for up to.
Is it? Yeah, I was asking.
100 hours.
Is it? But so when they leave, it's 100 hours that they take with them if they leave.
I believe it's 10 days. Or
10 days.
10 days. So is that 10-hour days? So 100 hours. Okay. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to give the sick, let's give the sick that would have left, like say the employee leaves the business, we would give that out anyways. Otherwise, we're giving out excess funds for the county. Does that make sense?
But if it's sick leave that they're allowed to take with them, they should be allowed to transfer that over.
I agree. give that up.
But then if, in that scenario, then they wouldn't have any sick leave left.
They wouldn't, but that's also on the individual volunteering that. To me, that's, they're volunteering their sick leave for another employee. So if they come back and say, hey, I'm sick, I don't have any leave, I was like, you gotta basically tell them, hey, you volunteered your sick leave, that's on you.
So this needs to be a policy discussion. This can't be determined on one individual instance here. I think we have to go ahead and go by precedent and grant this, and then immediately sometime in the future have this policy discussion and revamp the employee handbook.
Right.
Does that sound reasonable?
I think the handbook does state that they can donate.
They can donate.
Yeah.
I believe, so I don't think that you can change.
I'm all about this. Don't get me wrong, I'm all about this. I just wanted to double check that as to, is it your personal stuff? Is it your personal hours, or is it the ones that you accumulate that you would?
It's just that we didn't use our 3,000 hours of vacation or whatever over our 40 years of, where we could have taken the day off and got paid anyway.
Is it PTO here? Is that what it is? Kind of like so much vacation?
So we'll need a motion to allow Wayne Oyen, James Anderson, and Jacob Loudon to each donate 100 hours of sick leave to Gary Varberg.
So
I'll do that.
Oh, okay. I'll second.
Tranby and Edlund in tandem on the motion. Is there a second? Second by Abreu. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sick leave transferred.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Old courthouse, new courthouse.
Still standing? Still standing?
Unfortunately. Nothing much, I suppose,
Probably.
historical wise, whether they wanna take it over yet or not.
I have nothing.
Okay. Future business.
There are, I should actually bring that up.
Oh,
There-
backing up. Old courthouse, new
Just
courthouse.
because of Nelson County, the city of Michigan is applying for a grant to tear down middle schools, so there's probably some remediation funds that are gonna be available down the road, but first we have to be able to tear it down.
Which has always been the problem.
Well, first of all, you have to go through that whole entire historical society you have to update their last review. Last one was reviewed in 73. We have to update it one more time for them to say, and then once that's updated, then you can apply for that. But to update it is going to be about $7,000.
Well, I mean, that's just the latest in a long line of things you have to do
Yeah.
until there's the next one. Then you complete one, then it's the
Yep.
next. I mean, before it was have NDSU do the preservation and you can tear it down, and we got NDSU done. They presented it to us, we paid the $12,000 or whatever it was. Oh, wait, one more thing, and it's been that way up to that
Now you have
point,
to have a
too.
historical,
It's like a sign or a landmark, right?
yeah, no, well, you have to have a historical architect do their part to update the view, and then the marker, those 3 steps. But all of it costs money to do all of that. So, I mean, it's, in order to do that, in order just to say, can we take it down?
That's,
you know.
And there's no end in sight. It's one marker after another.
I believe,
Right. Well, I mean, it's those 3.
I believe the State Historical Society in the email that wasn't supposed to be made public, where the director said the Griggs County Courthouse will never be torn down.
Great.
And I believe that because it's played out that way so far. We've tried over and over and over again. Even presenting the state with the vote of the people who own the dang thing to let us tear it down, they still wouldn't. And we went through a few commissioners that made it their mission to try to get that torn down, and they're not here anymore. It's just been a long process right from the very start. But I welcome anybody trying.
And that's where we're at, is the 3 things that need to be done. We completed one of the 3 in order to have it. So the next step actually is to get, besides the plaque, is to get a historical architect to do, update the history form for them to do. And once that's done, then you can move forward, but.
So is there any way we could reach out to them?
We've tried. I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
We've said, give us the list of things that need to be done, the complete list, and then give us your approval to tear it down once we've completed the list. And they will never do that because they never will. allow you to go through a whole list. There's always one more item they're gonna make you do, and then one more after that. And we've sent letter after letter to that effect. What do we need to do? And they'll never commit to anything.
The last thing was the historical.
Yeah.
The drawing and the documentation.
Yep.
And then this new historical architect situation.
There's been a new thing, for the last 12 years, there's been the next new thing. Oh, just do this, you can do it. Oh, one more, and then,
It falls down.
I thought I sent you guys before the letter that initially, Jamie sent that all out, the initial letters and stuff as to what all needs to be done, but.
Yeah.
It is a process to get it done. It's just the sake of, do we right now want to spend the money to get to that point
Only thing
to
that
see?
scares me is with it sitting there, stuff starting to fall off,
That's
it's
right.
getting full mold.
Right.
It's getting to be a safety deal. That's what bothers me, because if
Right.
somebody gets in there or somebody gets hurt, whatever else, we're held liable for it. So I don't wanna tear it down, but if it gets to a fact where it's public safety, we have to figure out something.
Right.
Perimeter fencing is a lot cheaper than tearing it down.
That's true too. Yeah.
Future business.
I would just say as long as the Zoom meeting or whatever we have to do for the highway patrol.
How are we gonna set that up, Jamie?
I can try to have my office get in contact with it.
I think the first step would be to send them the recordings of the meeting we just had and tell them that we'd like them to come and explain their position on this.
Is there any type of, how should I put this? Is there any type of like neutral deal that we could get a hold of to give us maybe an idea or kind of a second opinion on what they've seen in the past and what steps they've had to deal with this?
I don't know that we need that if we just actually have them give us the full emails.
Yeah, are you talking about the troopers?
No, I'm just talking about in general, like, what have they seen in the past? What steps have they taken to help stop this or prevent it from happening again? That's what I'm asking.
Well, typically, Griggs County is in a little bit of a unique situation with an appointed sheriff,
Yeah.
because typically the commission can come in and say you're being too tough on people or you're not doing your job, and the sheriff can say, well, I'm elected. I'll take this under advisement, but he can walk over the commission meeting and flip you guys off and go about his day. So the county is actually in a pretty unique situation with an appointed sheriff, because there aren't too many occurrences where this happens. I would bet this is one of maybe less than a handful of situations where there's been an appointed sheriff where something's gone awry, where the commission has that power. Now, I had a feeling I knew where this was going to go, were some of the topics that were going to be brought up today, so I reached out to Aaron Burst from the association, and I think it's based on our conversation, I think it's a pretty unique situation, so I don't think that there is going to be much guidance. The guidance I gave you guys as far as being able to terminate someone that is appointed to an elected position to fulfill an unexpired term, there isn't really much guidance. So this is me and him reading between the lines on some Supreme Court opinions and some Attorney General's opinions, and that's the best I can interpret it, and that's the best he can interpret it. You're not usurping the power of the voters, because you ultimately have put that person in the position.
Yeah.
Now, if it were to go through an election, of course, you wouldn't have that power. So the only thing that is in there that you guys that can be done to hold a sheriff that's appointed in check is the power of the commission. So,
A quick question for you, Jamie. The June primary's coming up.
right.
Okay, he's on the ballot and people vote for him. Then he's not longer appointed, or is he still You follow what I'm saying?
He's not
voted
appointed
in.
until
He's
November.
not
No,
appointed.
he's
not
he's still a
appointed.
candidate. He's still a candidate.
December 1st is when the sheriff takes off.
Okay, so
takes over.
that's nothing to do with that actual
Right.
thing.
So that's
Okay.
just
No,
preliminary.
he's a
That's
candidate.
preliminary.
Okay.
So it's still in our hands till the actual election.
Okay.
Until actually he's supposed to take office, and the sheriff takes office, I believe it's December 1st.
But
I have one more question. People have asked me when they've called me, and they're like, "Well, if it's the highway patrol that saturated the area, can the sheriff just tell them to leave? That you're too much, just go." Can the sheriff actually tell the highway patrol that they're being too much, you're saturating, you're kind of running an event, leave?
Well, there's state law enforcement. I mean, everybody likes to play well together. So, I guess in my opinion, if the sheriff knew what was going on in the county and was uncomfortable with the amount of law enforcement, I mean, there's always have a conversation. Whether or not they leave,
Right.
I don't know. But
But
I mean, the highway patrol doesn't want to make waves in the county, make waves in other law enforcement.
Right.
There's that. So, I mean, yeah, the conversation, there could have been a conversation, I'm sure. Whether there was one or not, I don't know.
But I think that's why we want to get the highway patrol here next meeting, because ultimately we'll find out. And what we're not being able to read in the blanks is that why he, where they brought, what was said for them to bring 3 highway patrol, yeah.
Or did they do it on their own? Or did they, I mean, what were their thoughts? Or what was the...
But we can know all that by just having the sheriff turn over the original email to the state's attorney, and the state's attorney can
There you
verify,
go.
yes, that what's on there should have been redacted, or no, what's on there is not redactable, and then we'll
Right.
get to see it. It's in the sheriff's best interest to turn that over. To say
Right.
no is, well, I guess that's not what's...
But I don't think
Right.
did he say you can, I missed that part of the meeting, but it was...
Yeah, he said he was going to turn it over to you.
And I did speak with Mike about it
Yeah.
prior to, I asked him for the emails as well. And I did speak with him about it, and he said it was some intelligence that was shared. So I haven't seen him yet, but I did say if there's I gave him the advice, if there's intelligence in emails, to redact them, that's part of an open investigation. So that came from me.
His redacting process should have been the black line through it
Right, that
versus
should've- it should've been
deleted.
black.
So you can see the overall content, you can
Right,
see, you can
right.
see the length of it, or the duration of it.
Yep.
You can see whether or not the words that are left in there are actually talking about a different subject, or the subject that was previous.
Right. You just need to take names out. Isn't that what you read? I don't know. You just-
Names, locations,
however.
anything that can identify what
Right.
what the people. But anyway, it should be a fairly easy.
Yeah.
Just give Jamie the email. Jamie can say, "Yep, that is certainly not having anything to do with these cops being here," or "Man, that has everything to do with the highway patrol being here, and it shouldn't be redacted." And then, of course, not saying we won't get any satisfaction there, but if we don't, we have the ability to send that email with the redaction to the Attorney General, and have the Attorney General call for the whole email and determine what is redactable and what's not. Is that correct, Jamie?
So if, yeah, on an open records
Yeah.
request, if it isn't done to the satisfaction of the requester, whether that's timing or if there's materials redacting it, the Attorney General's office ultimately, if there's a complaint made to the Attorney General's office, the Attorney General typically reviews what is done, just similar to what would be done in an executive session. If there's a complaint done about how an executive session is handled, the AG's office then can call, and by statute, they're the only ones that can review that. So yeah, if there's a complaint and there's some redacting, that can
So,
be done.
yeah, but that's in the future. I mean, right now, we're at the point, if he just shows us Jamie and it actually is what he said it was, this thing is, that issue is settled. We still have the whole issue with the behavior of the deputy and all the rest of that. But right now, isn't that in the hands of the sheriff?
Yep.
It's in the sheriff's court here. He either deals with the problem internally, or there's a possibility that we deal with the overall problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I just speak?
Yes.
It goes right back to the very beginning of John. The email that he first sent out was, we need help because we can't handle it. Any other Saturday, they don't call for it. He was actually available, he said that inside there, by a phone call. And originally, when I was offered him the tickets, he said, "Oh yeah, we're both gonna work it." And I said, "Well, it is for a fundraiser for us." Well, yeah, we just gotta make sure that's all under control. And I said, "Well, whatever." But I mean, so you're looking at that whole situation that way. So it's not a difference of did he or did he not send for help. And the thing is, okay, he requested it, he went out to 5 more officers, as the email states. Then from there, the only thing that's not recorded is they called and he was talking to him on the phone. Those aren't recorded. And so when you start talking to somebody that way, what else gets brought in?
Right.
You know.
But the question is, did the redacted, was the redacted material a further discussion of what was needed in Griggs County?
Right.
Or was it actually a separate, completely separate matter, which seems a little bit on the edge, considering that why would you put 2 different topics in one email?
On one email.
And send it out to just a generic email to Highway Patrol. So if you had this topic that was sensitive and dealing with some issue in Griggs County, I would think you would send it to the officer you've been working with already.
Exactly.
But I don't know.
All I can say is when I spoke with Sheriff Beaver myself and I asked him about this, he said that currently, since Tyler is in school and not fully licensed, he cannot work alone without a supervisor. So when Tyler takes a day off, he has called the Highway Patrol or another county to be there to help Tyler if he needs help, to supervise him. That's what he said, and he had family plans for the weekend. He just had a 12-day stretch, had family plans the weekend because Tyler was in school. He wanted the weekend off, so he asked Highway Patrol to cover the weekend for him. This is what he's telling me. This is and he had him come for the weekend so he could have the time off, and so somebody could supervise Tyler. That is how he explained it to me when I did speak to him. But
I think Ronald Reagan said it perfectly. Trust but verify.
Right.
And that's all. We're not accusing. We're just we trust that's the case, and now let's just prove it to us. And it's in Mike's 100% best interest to do that.
So for moving forward at this point, do we want to just have him get with the email to Jamie, or do we want to schedule the Highway Patrol on this?
I think we should ask. I think the Highway Patrol, I think, in either instance deserves, in one instance, to protect their actions or defend their actions.
Well, they've gotten
so if they got smeared here, if they actually didn't do it, they should have the ability to say, we didn't do that.
Right. So.
And so we can't point fingers unless we know where to point the fingers at, but we narrowed it down here today.
Yeah. So, Jamie, will you reach out to the Highway Patrol then? Okay, let's see if we can get them on the agenda then too.
And they should listen to that recording, at least the deputy's version of it.
I can get them the link to that.
Yeah, and so I'm sure if they didn't do this, they're not going to be happy about what was said about them.
Right.
Do we want to do that as a special meeting, or do we want to wait until the next 2 weeks? Or I mean,
Well, I can make some contacts and I can let Sam know.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing that would make it urgent for a special meeting would be if you don't receive the unredacted email.
I'm guessing I will.
I believe you will too. I believe you will too, and I hope it's just what he said. I hope it's just what he said it is. But then we still have to go on then and ask and talk to the Highway Patrol.
I know why the exaggeration.
And I hope everybody keeps in mind how aggravated every citizen was in there, and is expecting something to be done. And It'd be nice to reach out and try to find, well, the highway patrol or the state or somebody recommends you do this. After that meeting there, no one, it falls right squarely on our 5 shoulders. No one's gonna say, I can't say, well, I think the highway patrol said we should just do this, and they're gonna say, well, when are you gonna be up for election? Because you're gone. We don't need people like you representing us that don't represent us. Bad situation, the only way out of this is through it, not skirting it. Well, Tranby, it's come that time.
Make motion adjourn.
Motion by Tranby to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by April. Oh yeah, I forgot. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned, 1:10. Next meeting, this room, May 6th at 9:30.